More free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Friday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe, Drake. We head up until 2 o'clock the next 4 hours. We've got you. A lot of stuff to get into today. Jam-packed, busy show today. We will hear from the Chiefs coming up later on this hour. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and George Karlaftis will be at the podium today. Fun one. Head coach, QB1, and lot on the shoulders defensive end this year in Karlaftis. So we'll hear from those particular individuals coming up later on this hour. We will talk with Matt Derrick coming up in the noon hour, Chiefs Digest. We will hang out with him and get his thoughts on the Chiefs, get his thoughts on things coming up on Sunday, what he wants to see, what he's expecting to see, what he's watching for. And, of course, we will talk with him about the piece that he wrote at Chiefs Digest in his conversation with Brett Veach and the latest with Chris Jones, and how that then is connected with the Chiefs players going into the last year of their rookie deal. Those 2020 draft picks by Brett Veach, mainly Willie Gay, L'Jarius Sneed, and Mike Dana, would be the ones that are not only eligible for an extension right now before the season starts, but would be the most likely of the ones to get an extension of a long-term, bigger contract. So interesting sort of connecting those threads between the Chris Jones contract and what happens moving forward. So we'll talk with Matt Derrick about those things and some other things with the Kansas City Chiefs. Mick Schaefer will be our guest, KSHB 41 Sports Director, coming up in the 1 o'clock hour as we wrap up the week's worth of shows. We got some cuts before it is over as well. 913-912-4810, the text line to be a part of the show, 913-912-4810 is the text line. Another I'm getting old moment. These things happen all the time in our lives. You know, Josh, you'll get there one day.
It's starting to happen. Read the intern's like 19, so I've had a few of them.
Oh, yeah. 19 years old. Oh, to be young again. No, but it was like, 2 years ago, it was a big, like, we're getting old, dropping Everett off at kindergarten. It's like, oh, my goodness, I can't believe we got a kindergartner. And then 2 years later, we're sitting there going, how do I have a second grader? Like, how is he in second grade? I mean, it seems like it was just yesterday. It was the summer before second grade. And then now it's second grade here. It's crazy, getting so old. And but luckily, we're only dropping them off at second grade today for 3 hours. So that's good. It's only a half day for not everybody in Olathe, but the elementary school kids, 6th graders and 9th graders today only, and the K through 5, roughly 2 hours and 50 minutes to be there in the classroom. I ask for what?
Why? Yeah, why?
Here's my answer. To inconvenience parents. It's the only reason. It's the only reason. I get an idea of maybe the 6th graders and the 9th graders, a new school. You want them to get used to it without the other kids there picking on them, and bullying them.
Okay, yeah, that I guess makes sense.
You don't have the 7th and 8th graders picking on the 6th graders.
Yeah.
You don't have the sophomores through seniors, giving noogies and, swirlies to the freshmen that are there.
Here, kids, play on easy mode just today.
For 3 hours, for a half day.
But why not have a full day of it?
Yeah. Well, they've got, the 6th graders and the 9th graders have, 8 until 12:30. They got 4.5 hours. The elementary school kids are 8:20 to 11:15. Not even 3 hours. Just to inconvenience the parents. Hey, parents, first day of school, but you got to figure out how to get them home halfway through.
If anybody out there sees Everett hitchhiking, just bring him to the station. Just drop him off here.
I mean,
we'll take care of him.
What are you sitting down, holding hands? You've got enough time to introduce yourself. Hi, Everett Anderson. Was born in November.
No, not like the mountain. A common mistake.
Not named after the mountain. It's a completely different thing. It's not even spelled the same. There's also an S. There's no S in my name.
Come on, guys.
It's all good.
My dad's name is not James.
That's right. Nobody's heard of them, so don't even ask. Doesn't matter. And I like long walks on the beach.
And short days at the school.
What's up, girl? Little wink, little fake guns pointing over there. Pow. Yeah, that's right. And I'm just here. I'm here to party, man. I'm here to chill. I'm here to have fun and drink some beers. I'm looking around this second grade classroom. We ain't got no beers. Let's have some fun. Let's party. I don't think he'll do that. I would expect him not to do that. But I feel like that's really all that can get accomplished on a 2-hour school day.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time, which is a good thing because my dad's got to pick me up at 12:30. We're only here for 2.5 hours.
No, it's not a big deal. My mom's going to take a personal day off because you always want to spend those days off just so you can pick up your kid at 11 o'clock.
Then hang out with your dumb kid the rest of the day.
Which is perfectly fine. That's great.
Well, look, here's the thing. I mean, not a parent. Don't see that coming anytime terribly soon down the runway.
Good for you.
So I don't, I'm acknowledging my ignorances here. But I don't think you have to love your kids every day, right? You don't. At least don't have to like your kids every day.
You love your kids
love
every
your
day.
kids all the time. You don't have to love being around them every
Some
day.
days where you're like, I'm going to be by myself.
I would like to. Yeah, that's when Daddy goes into the broom closet and just stands there in silence for 3 hours.
I'm here to drink beers and be by myself.
That's right.
Not only are we out of beers, but I don't even drink them. So now I'm just going to be by myself.
I learned it from watching you.
Lay around and watch sports. Yeah.
That is kind of bonkers.
Also, real quick before we get into the Chris Jones stuff, when did school starting the second week of August?
That was what surprised me when you said you dropped.
August.
Wait a second, it's August 11th.
11th.
It doesn't feel like there's been
remember
that much
like
summer.
Labor Day.
That's what I was thinking.
Like preseason games were over. Like college football
Yeah.
was like starting up or playing. And I used to think, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to college. I mean, college starts in like August 15th or August 20th. They're heading to campus. That's so early. Like, what's the point of even having a summer if you've got to go to college at like August 15th, August 20th? That's crazy. Like right now, some universities are going through rush or recruitment, whatever it might be for Greek life right now. But like, when did we start going to school in early August? It was always like Labor Day. Like I always remember September when we went to school. What are we doing here?
I don't know, and I also
I never know what they're doing.
I feel like it also has gotten earlier in the day as years have gone. I feel like what time does Everett like get dropped off?
Well, he can be dropped off as early as 8, but 8
Okay.
to 8:20.
That's
8:20
not
is when
terrible,
the
I
school
guess.
starts. No, it's not bad for him.
Sometimes there's like the buses that start running around, and depending on how much ground you got to cover, where you got kids at bus stops that in the dark in the morning in the winter. It's like, wait a second, is this the best we could do?
They've always done it wrong. The elementary school kids should start earlier. The older you get should start later, because your circadian rhythm adjusts.
Really?
Kids that are in elementary school usually wake up earlier. And kids, as you get to high school or even on the weekend, you're sleeping in a little bit later.
Absolutely.
Your circadian rhythm adjusts. Yet, as you get older, the earlier you need to be at school. So then on the weekend, you're sleeping in. Now your circadian rhythm adjusts again. And then, oh, by the way, now you got to be at school by 7. Whereas the kids are like, oh, don't worry, you got to be at school by 8:20. He's been up for 2.5 hours.
He's doing push-ups in the driveway right now, like Terrell Owens out here.
He gets up at 6. She gets up at like 6:15.
Take him now.
They're 6 years old
Let
and
them
4 years
sleep
old.
when they're 14.
When he's 15 years old, he's going to wake up at 10.
Right.
But he's going to have to go to school and be there by 7.
He's gonna have to hose him down like on the way to the car.
Just ask me. We've got all the answers here, okay? We've got all the answers. Drake, when was your first day of school back when you were going to school? Like September?
I don't remember.
Okay,
but
cool.
I'm old, so I don't remember.
But it was like September, though, right? This is so early. Anyway.
Is that why
So-
you felt old? And because you said you were feeling old, it
just like a second grade. Just the
Okay.
fact that he's in second grade and he's in kid pitch, it's like what's going on, man? What's that? What is? It's I don't know. It's just weird. But when the Chiefs press conferences are over, his school day will be done.
he'll be done in time to hear from Andy Reid. He'll be done early enough to hear Andy Reid lie about how long Patrick Mahomes is going to play on Sunday. That's awesome.
Man. All right. 913-912-4810. Drake says break.
We got pressers. We're
I do
feeling
need
our
a break
feelings.
right now,
You
okay?
deserve a break, Jason.
Okay, I need a break right now. All right, I got
Going through a lot.
Yes.
It's a busy, heavy emotional time for all of us.
That's right. It's a lot of figuring out all these half days and these teacher professional days.
I didn't want to bring it up, but I've got a little bit of a toothache. We're all going through some very trying times right now.
My index finger is kind of hurting. I'm getting old.
I got
Maybe
stung by a
arthritis.
wasp over the weekend. Still got a little spot there.
Do you have time to get stung by a wasp? Did you?
I got stung twice, actually, so take that, Tyreek Hill.
I had a corn dog.
Did you really? Just the one, though?
Yep.
So you're even, okay.
And my daughter likes snow globes.
That's too bad. I ate a wasp and then got stung by a corn dog, and I made some horrible mistakes.
But you did try to catch them all with the Pokemon.
I sure did. That is absolutely right.
All right, so like I said, we'll talk about Chris Jones. We'll do that on the other side of the break. The Nate Taylor, the Matt Derrick articles that are out there. There's some really fascinating takeaways from that. And I do wonder, are we getting to a point to where maybe there's some annoyance that's there? You can't read the sound and the tone of the voice and inflections, or you can't hear those when you're reading them. So we'll ask Matt Derrick about some of those things. But I do think there's an interesting sort of connection with what Brett Veach told Matt Derrick and players on the team when you say, I ain't worried about Chris Jones. He's getting his contract. We don't worry about other people's contracts. What about when it's affecting yours? We'll do that as we continue rolling along. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey, listen here, folks. Listen here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last time I'm going to tell you about this. At least this week. We'll see beyond that. But listen here, everybody. I got a great deal for you. I got a promo code that's my last name. That's already a great thing. You know what else is great? Fantasy football and Underdog Fantasy. You're running out of time to draft your $1 million fantasy football team, but the time is now, and you still got time as the preseason kicks off here, and has kicked off now. You've got maybe a feel for what the league's looking like. You know who your sleepers are, but you want to get those picks in before the rest of the world catches up. Well, Underdog Fantasy is running the largest fantasy football contest of all time. Best Ball Mania 4. $15 million in total prizes, $3 million to first place, and a great time in the best ball format. It's a live snake draft with other real people drafting from around the world, but then there's no waivers, no trades. You just draft your team, and that's it. It doesn't matter who you're going up against. You just want to go through the league and make sure you get all your selections in. And then Underdog sets the best lineup for you each week of the season, and you can set it and forget it until it's time to collect your cash. I think this game is an absolute blast. This way of playing is an absolute blast, and it gives me the fun part of fantasy football, those drafts at the beginning of the season without knowing that it's going to make my life miserable when I'm trying to set 14 lineups in week 17. So here's what I'm going to offer for you. Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com or via the App Store with promo code Briscoe. That's BRISCO is the promo code when you sign up, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Briscoe. Must be 18 and over or present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
All right, now that we got to the bottom of that, world's problems being solved here. 913-912-4810. So, Jason Texter, you didn't sound that old until you mentioned noogies and swirlies. Do the kids still play kick the can at recess? That's right. Yes. Man. All right, 913-912-4810, 913-912. There's a number of other texts that are coming in with schools and early starts and kids these days. All right, let's get into the Chris Jones stuff. Matt Derrick, Nate Taylor, their articles after talking with Brett Veach.
Chris Jones tweeted out 2 minutes ago, by the way, two hourglass emojis, and then this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson that reads, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." So that clearly means, go ahead, Jason, it's obvious what that means. This clearly means that Chris Jones, clearly, obviously,
thinks that Brett Veach is telling lies.
Ooh, wow.
I mean, how many times was the word lies
3
used?
3 times.
Sounds to me like he's filled with them.
Lies.
Now, I will go ahead and Google and see if this is actually a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote or if this is like, never believe anything you read on the internet, Abraham Lincoln. You never be too sure.
Everything was Benjamin Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin said everything. A man ahead of his time. Abraham Lincoln.
Tex says, I bet you still have Jinko jeans. I don't.
Oh, man, I wish. I haven't seen a pair of those in the wild in a long time.
That's right. Out in the wild. It's natural habitat.
Truly.
So some things that I thought were highlights from Matt Derrick's piece. We'll start with that one. And we'll talk with Matt coming up at noon. Brett Veach telling him, you can go to Chiefs Digest to read the entire thing. Says, certainly we're working hard to keep Chris. Certainly want him here. On the other end, I absolutely respect the business side of things. Whatever player and his agent, whatever I guess their approach and how they do things, he's earned that right in regards to what he thinks is best for him in his future. I want to examine that quote a little bit more as well. He talks about and says, we've been fortunate the last few years. We've had some really good draft classes that come together. Now these guys are hitting their window. We have a bunch of them coming up next year. It's a little bit of a challenge for us. Usually when you get the big pieces of the puzzle put away and can account for how their flows will be allotted, you're able to really work in definitives. And I think once we can work through the Chris Jones thing and get a resolution there, then I think everything kind of falls into place for these guys. It's like anything. You start with the big ones. You want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in any future problematic issues down the road with some of the cap construction stuff. Ultimately, as we get closer to the season, the dynamic changes in regards to just the way it's set up. You don't want to see him lose any money. You don't want him to get fined. Everyone in the building loves Chris. So the rules are predetermined in regard to the fines and all that kind of stuff. We don't want to see that happen. As it gets closer, you feel like just naturally things have to come to a head. But we're, again, cautiously optimistic. I think that's the first time that Brett Veach has used some sort of tempered view of getting this thing done. Cautiously optimistic. Holding pattern is one thing that was used in Nate Taylor's piece a couple of times that Brett Veach mentioned holding patterns, which, we discussed and talked about with Jesse Newell's story. So clearly Brett Veach is having these conversations and making the rounds and sort of saying the exact same thing.
And not necessarily just because of the Chris Jones thing. Like, this is the time that a lot of the beat writers get to talk to the GM at training camp. That's what it looks like. We should ask Matt about that, I guess, but that's what it kind of seems like.
Absolutely. The only way an outlet of media is by print.
That's
So, so there's different things to piece together with all of these stories. The cautiously optimistic, that stood out to me.
Yeah.
For Brett Veach. That was one of the first things that stood out. Eventually coming to a head. That can mean a few things. Coming to a head is in like, we're going to get this thing done. Eventually it gets to a finality. There's a finish line. We'll get there. We'll figure all those things out. Here's one of the things that we haven't discussed, though. because Patrick Mahomes was asked about, you talk to Chris Jones. Yeah, we talk anything about the contract. No, we're not talking contract, man. He'll get that thing figured out. We love Chris. He'll be here, looking forward to the season, blah, blah, blah. But, we let those things handle themselves. We know that, all of that stuff, the things that they say at the podium. And I think to a man, if you asked Chiefs players at the podium, that's what they would say. Oh, go get yours. We're holding it down here. We got, it's good because other guys are getting reps right now. We know what he's going to mean to this defense, yada, yada, yada. But when Brett Veach says, we've been fortunate the last few years that we've had some really good draft classes come together. Now these guys are hitting their window. We got a bunch of them coming up next year. That's a little bit of a challenge for us. Usually, when you get the big pieces of the puzzle put away and can account for how their flows will be allotted, you're able to really work in definitives. And so I think once we can work through the Chris Jones thing and get a resolution there, then I think everything kind of falls into place for those guys. It's like anything else, you start with the big ones. I don't think the players are going to care if Chris Jones is holding out to get his contract. Get your money, get your money. But does it ever become an issue in the locker room with Willie Gay, L'Jarius Sneed, or even Mike Dana, maybe even L'Jarius Sneed the most, of, yeah, man, I'm a fourth-round draft pick. I've made $3 million in my career. You've made $60-something million in your career, and we're waiting on you. My window has opened up, and I can't even start negotiating with them to get a new contract because they have no idea what your deal's going to be. Oh, Andy's walking up right now. He's minutes away, so we will hear from the Chiefs even earlier than usual. And we will come back and address that part because I think that is something that could be part of the conversation.
Turk, Jody, L'Jarius, and Kadarius. All right, so everybody else will be ready to go and play. The ones, I've got it scheduled by quarterback, so the ones they'll each take a quarter. So ones will take the first quarter, two's the second quarter, three's the third quarter, four's the last quarter. And then, obviously we blend, and with special teams is a little different. Substitutions end up being a big thing in the preseason. We're juggling a lot of bodies. Anyways, we look forward to that challenge. I'm playing the Saints. We know it'll be a good test for us. So it's both are good teams, and it should be good to compete against somebody else. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Andy, you didn't mention Pacheco and the guys who would play.
Yeah, Pacheco. Yeah, he'd be another one. He won't play. Yeah.
You've always had your starting quarterback play a little bit, and I think we've asked you this before, but every year we see lots of them who don't play. This works for you. What do you like about getting him in there a little bit with the guys?
Yeah, just getting in the flow, pregame, the whole thing there. So having to go through the warm-ups, and your juices are going a little bit more than what they do in practice. So just gradual ramp up.
He seems to like it too. Patrick wants to play, right? He
Yeah.
wants to get out there and do it.
Yeah, probably, yeah. He wants to play more than I play him, but yeah.
How about some of the guys? Clyde hasn't gotten to play like last November. I think people are probably excited to see Justin Ross hasn't played any games since
Sure.
a year and a half ago. What do you?
Yeah, so I'm as curious as you are for the young guys. I kind of know 2-5 and how he goes about it. So, but I know he's excited to get in there and go. So.
How much player like Charles Omenihu is not to play for the first few weeks of the regular season? Do you want to get him as much time?
Yeah, he'll get time in there. It won't be, it'll be with the ones and then in a rotational thing from there. Yeah. So.
You heard about the comments involving Eric Bieniemy and sort of his personality and his style in Washington, and just, I guess from your standpoint, what did you appreciate that he brought here that you think he can bring in a camp setting to Washington?
Yeah, so EB's a tough kid, but he gets guys right, and so I think that's what Ron was trying to get out the second time that he talked. That's nothing wrong with that. That's his personality, and guys play for him. And he's had great success. He had great success as a running back coach, and had great success as a coordinator. And so I always welcomed that. That was something that I welcomed into the mix. And you know, we always talk about letting your personality show, and I think that's an important part of it. And I think when it's all said and done, their guys will appreciate it. And he's going to challenge you, and they'll appreciate it when they're winning games.
The guys might not know this, and Washington, obviously in '99, he was your player.
Yeah.
How tough were you on him in the camp in '99?
Yeah, it was a little tough on him. I had he and Deuce Staley, and both are wired the same way. Both are aggressive. They're going to love you up, but they're also going to tell you the truth, and that's the thing I appreciate about them. And they know what it takes to play at this level and at a championship caliber level. There's a difference. There's a difference. So nothing comes easy in this business. Nothing comes easy. Probably in life, nothing comes easy. So you got to work at it.
Andy, every year you have guys that are trying to make a team, but not your team, another team in the NFL. What is your message to them about putting good tape out there?
Yeah, so everybody will play. This game here, everybody will play. And they deserve that. They've earned that right. They've made it through this part of camp, and they've earned the right to get out there. And obviously we can't keep everybody. I tell them that. We can't keep everybody. Make the decision hard on Brett, myself, and let's go. We're going to give you an opportunity, though, to get yourself on tape. And so prepare and then go shine.
Coach Reed, on the back of that, how does the new rule, like one big cut down to August 29th, change how you kind of manage?
Yeah, I think all coaches like that. I understand the other part of it, but I think the coaches love that part. And you get an opportunity to coach these guys all the way through. In that last game, they get a lot of reps. And even when we were doing 4 games, that last game, they got a ton of reps. And I just think that's a positive thing for the guys to have an opportunity to make a living at this thing, shine.
One of the things that I think Coach Rivera was talking about is the difference with some of the kids today coming out of colleges and how they've been coached. I'm sure you've seen some difference over the last 20-plus years of being a head coach. Are you happen to see maybe adjust some things with some of the younger players that maybe you didn't see?
Yeah, I think when you really get down to it, if guys understand the end of the equation, so you work from the answer back on that they would all want to be pushed. It's not easy though. You got to reach down in there and you got to grab that thing inside of you to drive you through it. But normally, the end result is a positive thing for yourself and for the team.
Coach, do you still have the same energy and same jitters every year? Obviously, when the first preseason game, do you still have that same energy every year?
Yeah, I have the same energy. It's I'm excited to see the young guys play, and then the vets will knock off their rust. It's an opportunity to do that, but we're still in the evaluation period, and so let's make it a fair game and get out there and compete your hearts out, and maybe you have a chance. Some of these guys that you might not think maybe they'll have that chance, and to make a great team.
Last one there.
Andy, for you and the barbecue up here, what is it going to mean to you, the players in the staff? Don't become a favorite barbecue.
Yeah, well, they do a great job with it, and it's been going on a while. So, but the food is phenomenal. I'll save you a little.
All right, thank you.
All right, good.
Thanks, Coach.
There is Andy Reid, the first of a guaranteed 20 we're looking forward to the challenge of. Looking forward to the challenge this weekend, facing the Saints and getting opportunities for guys to get out there and play. Next week, they'll be looking forward to the challenges of the Cardinals and then so on and so forth until you get to the postseason. So guaranteed 20 of those from Andy Reid. That's number one. We are rolling now. Mahomes is coming up, and then George Karlaftis. We'll hear from him.
Good
Mahomes
stuff there
is
from
talking
Andy
to
Reid.
Peter King, so it may take a moment.
Peter King. Okay. Mahomes is talking to Peter King.
Well, I'll just say that the Andy Reid on the coaching, and especially that question about how have guys changed. If guys understand the end of the equation, you work from the answer back on that they would all want to be pushed. Man, that's a guy who may be good at coaching and understanding how to communicate too. That's a cool thing.
Said, you're play a little bit like you always do. You like to play, right? Mm-hmm. There's plenty of quarterbacks who are established like you don't play at all in the preseason. What benefit do you get from getting just a little bit of time?
Yeah, I think you said it. It's just getting that first. I always say that first hit. You want to get hit where it's not too hard, but you can feel it. I mean, you go through a long off season of working through the pocket and knowing the guys are rushing, but they can't touch you, and so it's just different when you get in the game and you're able to get tackled and everything like that. And I like to have at least 1 to 2 drives under my belt to say that I'm ready to go. We're doing the right things, and Coach Reed, he allows me to do that. He allows me to get in there. And adding the new tackles will be good to kind of get a feel for them as well. I mean, they've done great in training camp so far, and I'm excited for them to get that opportunity to go out in a real game. I think it was that first season that I started. That's when I felt really comfortable. I think in that first preseason, I made a lot of highlight throws, but some of the little things that kind of sustain drives I still was working on. But I mean, I've always had confidence I was going to be able to play. But the more I learned and the more I felt comfortable within the offense is when I really knew that I was going to be able to go out there and have success on the football field. Yeah. I think about that one. I think about the pick that I threw towards Sammy even more in that game because it was. I mean, if you look at it, it's a very similar play that when I threw to him in the Super Bowl where he got it down the sideline. So it was, you learn from your mistakes. You learn how to hold your eyes on the safeties a little bit longer. But I mean, obviously it was a cool throw. I threw it really far, but you didn't play that good in that. If you remember that preseason game, and so that kind of just gave you a little bit of confidence going into the season. I mean, cut it loose. We throw so much at them at training camp. Coach and Nagy and all the offensive staff and Spags, they do a good job of kind of simplifying it for the game. So let's go out there and play. Let's go out there and play fast. Don't worry about making a mistake. Just go out there and fly around. Let your natural talent and your ability show. And you've learned it. You've been coached up with it. Trust yourself.
Patrick, have you seen the comments in Washington about Eric Bieniemy and obviously his coaching style? I guess if you had the opportunity, what would you tell those players in Washington who are a little maybe shocked by EB's demeanor, coaching style?
Yeah, I think I saw EB say it. I mean, perfect. I mean, EB is going to be harsh on you. He's going to really try to get the best out of you every single day. He's not going to let you. He's going to hold you accountable whenever you don't even want to hold yourself accountable. And it made me a better player. And I think what he said that was the biggest thing is he's your number one supporter though. He will go to war with you just like any other guy on your team. And you got to know that. And you got to know when he's talking to you on the football field that he's trying to get the best out of you. He's not trying to put you down. He's trying to push you to be even better than you think you can be. And so that's something that I think that they'll understand when they go out there and they start winning football games is there's a reason to why he's coaching you the way that he's coaching you and that he loves you. I mean, he loves every guy that he coaches, and you see that with the guys that have come out and said stuff about him, the Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson, Tyreek. I mean, they understand that he loves you and he's going to try to get the best out of you every single day.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
I didn't eat breakfast this morning. Yeah, I kind of pick and choose when I eat breakfast, and it was a little bit lighter day, so I didn't eat breakfast this morning. You know, the intermittent fasting, I've been trying to do a little bit. Alex Smith taught me about that, so I do a little bit of it.
All right, thank you.
It's the most important meal of the day, Patrick. I mean, if he's missing breakfast, what else is he starting to slip on? Is Patrick Mahomes becoming lazy as he's becoming more successful? That's the question I've got to ask now. If he's skipping breakfast, is he skipping film study?
Do you know what I had for breakfast this morning?
What?
A leftover slice of Nuke Lelouch pizza from Johnny's Tavern.
George Karlaftis is eating quarterbacks for breakfast.
This game on Sunday.
Just getting everything started back up. You know, it's been. It feels like it's been a short off season. It has, but it also feels like forever since we played a game. So just excited to get everything going, seeing how everyone kind of gels together, the new guys on the team and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited.
How much difference does this feel for you last year? Like your first ever.
It's a lot different. You know, last year I didn't know really what to expect. You know, it's a whirlwind. You know, being a rookie, the not knowing part, and you know, going into the second year having played, you know, knowing kind of what's expected, knowing what the game's like, it eases your mind a lot.
What do you remember about that first preseason?
At first it was a little bit of a blur. I remember Chris and Frank on the sideline just tell me just to take deep breaths, calm down, you know, and just it'll be all right. Just do what you do, and you know, I just remember just playing my heart out like I always try to do. Just you know, do everything I can to help the team win. Honestly. said coach. You know, I feel like we've gotten a lot of reps. You know, we've had a lot of guys that were first-year starters last year, and all of us have gotten a lot of reps. It's very mentally and physically taxing, this camp, as it always is, and it gets you ready to play. I remember last year, you know, you feel prepared for that first game. I think we're going to feel that way this game, this first game too. So I'm really excited about that.
What's the energy like just right now? Again, 2 days or 2 days before the preseason, the first game. What's the energy like with you and everybody else?
It's a great energy. You know, we're gelling. Everybody's gelling together. There's a great energy. There's a great camaraderie. All the guys are getting along. So it's awesome to be a part of. Like I said last year, you know, it's a unique locker room situation. You know, we got a winning culture and a winning mentality in this team, and you know, everyone accepts everyone. That's awesome to have in a team. So.
The young guys. The trials are not going to be after the first 6 games. You know that. How does that change the preparation as far as making sure that you get back ready for week 1, but also you want to try?
Absolutely. It's always just next man up mentality. You know, that's kind of what it's always been. You know, we had guys bruised up, not playing, whatever the case might have been last year. You know, it was always next man up. You know, the next guy's got to be ready. I think that really shows how tough the strength camp is. It gets everyone ready to play whenever their number is called, you know. So it's a next man up. Whenever he's ready, whenever he's back, you know, we're going to be ready for him. He's a great player, and, you know, just like I said, just next man up mentality.
Any specific of the young guys you're going to have your eye on to see what they can do in the first kind of live action?
I think for me, mostly the defensive linemen, you know, and Felix and BJ and KC and Truman, all those guys, man, they've been awesome, and just seeing what it's like, you know, you get to see them in practice every day, but just seeing them, you know, cut it loose and really get after it. It's gonna be exciting. I'm looking forward to watching them.
Couple more. Do you feel like enough of a veteran to be the one who tells them to take a breath and calm down when they come over the sideline?
I think so. You know, I think I had great veterans last year that, you know, that taught me a lot, and I try to be a pretty fast learner and you know, absorb a lot of the things that were taught to me and try to pass it down and do it really the right way. You know, not do it from like a perspective of ego. Just try to help everyone out, and you know, I feel like I can just by telling them what my experience were. You know, just, hey man, I know what you're feeling like. I've been through it. Just take a deep breath and relax, and you got this. You know, you do this every day. So I feel like I can to a certain extent. Yeah.
Last one. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
For breakfast, same thing I have every day. A little bit of rice with some bacon and a little bit of sausage.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
He eats rice, bacon, and sausage.
Every morning.
Every single morning.
Huh.
You know what? It's a breakfast of champions. It's more rice, bacon, and sausage than Mahomes has. Tell you that.
Intermittent fasting from Alex Smith, huh?
Yeah, well, Alex taught him a lot. Okay.
How to be professional. When to skip breakfast.
That's right. When to have breakfast, when to skip breakfast. All right, there's Karlaftis. We will we'll talk about what we heard from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and George Karlaftis on the other side of the break. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
I've got great news for you. Surprising news, though. If you know about Ruback Fine Jewelry, you'll be surprised to know that they're moving locations. Why is that such a big surprise? Well, because they're doing it after 32 years at their current location, and they're moving to downtown Overland Park in October. Here's the good news for you. Because of the move, Ruback is having their biggest sale ever. Everything from the current location must go. The prices will be amazing, and I've seen the stuff at the location many, many times. You're going to want to go check it out. That includes lab-grown diamonds, natural diamonds, colored stones, necklaces, rings, and so much more. Here's the thing, guys. You plan ahead right now. You go to Ruback Fine Jewelry as this sale goes on. I'll give you the dates and details here in a second. But you plan ahead, you now have a showstopper of a gift for an upcoming birthday, anniversary, or a holiday gift. This is completely outrageous what Ruback is doing, and you get to be the beneficiary of it. Plus, anyone wanting to get engaged anytime soon, you can purchase just the diamond during the sale and then go to Ruback's new location to have the custom ring made later on. I had Renee's engagement ring made at Ruback Fine Jewelry. I then had my wedding. She said yes, maybe because of the ring. It's hard to say for sure. But then I was able to get my ring made at Ruback Fine Jewelry. We're both absolutely thrilled with that decision and with the rings that we got. I am 100% confident in pointing you in their direction as well. So the sale will be August 21st through September 16th. It'll take place at their current location at 5100 West 95th Street, 5100 West 95th Street, 95th Street, inside the U.S. Bank building. You can view the sale on your own by appointment at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. during those sale dates, or you can go in during open hours from 1 to 5 p.m. when those sale dates are going on. Again, that's inside the U.S. Bank building starting August 21st, 5100 West 95th Street. And you can check them all out, see more about Ruback, get the details, the dates, the address. Everything is online at ruback.co. That's Ruback Fine Jewelry online at ruback.co.
Looking for that perfect gift for that hard-to-shop for friend or family member?
Training camp coverage presented by Barstool Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino, Bud Light, Greengrass Cattle Company, and Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and George Karlaftis at the podium. Chris Jones a little more active on social media the last couple of days. Picture of him at an airport responding to a question. He had time for one question. Said he's still under contract. He can't predict the future. Just see how this year goes. About, being a long-term deal.
I'm sorry, this isn't about Chris Jones. This is about George Karlaftis. But I forgot about this. Charles Goldman just tweeted out, Chiefs defensive end George Karlaftis says he eats a little bit of rice, bacon, and sausage every day for breakfast. Not quite as prolific as his Chipotle order. Do you remember that in the pre-draft process?
I don't.
His Chipotle order, triple steak, double white rice, light cheese.
Big Rice fan.
I mean,
Rashee Rice in the house.
This is the Chipotle order of a madman. I really like George Karlaftis. I had a great time chatting with him when he was hanging out with us at the MVS Jerry softball game. I'm excited about him as a player. I'm a fan.
He's a big fan of rice.
That is the Chipotle order of a madman.
So the press conference is Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, George Karlaftis. I want to get back into stuff about Chris Jones, which we will. Got a full hour next hour to be able to do that and get in depth on some of these things that I want to start to break down and peel back some of the onion. Or unfold the onion, whatever the guy said to Steve Sarkisian. When you unfold, that's what it is. When you unfold the onion.
I was thinking about Shrek, and I was like, no, you got it. Yeah.
No,
layers. It's got layers like Shrek, like an ogre.
No, it's when you fold back some of the onion, Steve, it takes an extraordinary man to be able to do this, and you are an extraordinary man. That was one of the greatest questions.
The greatest press conference question ever asked.
It was just commentary for 10 minutes, and then go ahead, Coach. Well, thank you. You're very welcome.
You gonna rub my shoulders or anything for me? Welcome. This is great.
You sign this mini helmet on your way out. That'd be great. I thought it was interesting. George Karlaftis asked, "What do you remember from your first preseason game? What was that like?" And he said, "It was a blur. Everything was going so fast, couldn't catch my breath." And he said, "Frank and Chris told me to calm down, take a deep breath. Just go out there and play." And as he said, I just went out and played my heart out, and that's just how I do it. I just went out and put everything out there. Frank and Chris were the ones that came over and told me, chill out. It's all good. Frank's a Bronco, and Chris is working out in Miami. Or wherever he's at now. He got on a plane. Maybe
he's tweeting.
Wherever he's there. And Todd Lebo, which was great because it's one of the things that I was hoping for a follow-up on, is like, do you feel comfortable doing that now? You're just a second-year guy. I mean, Mike Dana, Derek Nottie, they've been around for a while in this system. You've only been around for 1 year, but the oldest tenured man in the Chiefs defense is not here right now. And the second oldest tenured man in the Chiefs defense is a Denver Bronco right now. Do you feel it? And he said, I think so. We've had great veterans, last year, but he didn't say yes. Like, I think Mike Dana, Derek Nottie, those guys would probably feel they've been around a while to, hey, I've been there, done this. This is my Nottie's fifth, Dana's fourth preseason to go through. This is what it's going to be like. This is what you got to do. This is what life, they can give more advice and during the game, but that stood out. The first names, Frank and Chris, and they aren't around right now, which shows to me the importance of a Chris Jones being around is because they do lose that leadership with a Frank Clark. Offensively, they lose that hard-ass, red-ass Eric Bieniemy. And with Chris Jones not being there, they lose one of the best players in the NFL and a guy who the other players can look up to and, use as a sounding board.
Right, and I mean, experience is one thing, and so what's going on, and you can help prepare guys. Mike Dana and Derek Nottie clear that bar, certainly, and they're good football players who have been with this team specifically for their entire careers. So I certainly think they can lead in some form or fashion. But the style of leadership and just the style of players that guys are, that's always going to impact the interpersonal dynamic in there. And Dana, Nottie, Karlaftis, I mean, Tershawn Wharton is among the elder statesmen now, and he has not been in Kansas City all that long. Yeah. But all of those guys, and it's one of the reasons that I think Frank Clark was so important. And there was a clip of Karlaftis doing some extra work after a practice with Omenihu last week somewhere. Something. Oh, okay, he's still finding the veteran to pick the brain of, which is great for him. But Omenihu just got here and is going to miss the first 6 weeks. So there are several layers of differences, I think, between where they were this time last year and where they are now. Where it's not just that you're missing a superstar and a couple of well-known, longtime NFL vets, but they're also vocal leaders who I think probably felt the burden in kind of a positive way of leading, right? Like of bringing the young guys along. And I just don't know that anybody else on this team right now has that. Someone will step up and fill that role, and maybe Derek Nottie and Mike Dana are going to be a lot more outspoken with those guys gone. That's typically how it works, right? You can see a lower classman take over as he hits his junior year and begin to find his voice a little bit. But it is really, really different in those locker rooms, in those training camp practices right now without Chris Jones and Frank Clark.
Of the 16 defensive linemen that are there, 17 with Chris Jones, but 16 defensive linemen, it's Nottie, Dana, Herring, and Kando?
For what's the cutoff?
That have more experience on the Chiefs than Karlaftis. So 4 of the 16 players, defensive linemen.
Wharton's been around an extra year.
Turk, yep, so 5.
But I was going to see how many games he's played even, too.
Yeah, but being on the Chiefs.
Yeah,
Turk, this is not Turk's second year. So that's it.
Turk's played 38 games, by the way, and that's barely playing last year. So he played quite a bit in 20 and 21. So
you've got Jones not being there. That takes it down to 16. You've got Karlaftis. That takes it down to 15, and then 5 other players. So there are 10 guys on this Chiefs defensive line that have less experience with the Chiefs than George Karlaftis.
It's crazy. That's really unbelievable. And they threw him into the meat grinder right away last year. Like you mentioned it before we threw to him, but there is a lot on his shoulders this season. There was a lot on his shoulders last year, and he rose to the occasion there.
And there's more on his shoulders this year.
Yep, I think you're right.
Because last year there was at least Frank Clark and Dunlap and Jones.
Right, yeah, it changes everything.
And there was an unknown about what Karlaftis could be. There was also an expectation of a well-rounded 3-down linebacker or 3-down defensive end, not necessarily a guy that's going to get double-digit sacks. He wasn't viewed as this is going to be a savior to the defensive line. He's going to sack the quarterback. It's going to be set the edge, help in the run game, and just be a monster that's the motor never stops, right? Just be a motor monster. This year, the way he ended the season, Jones not being around, Clark and Dunlap being elsewhere, and Amenahu watching from home the first 6 weeks, and Felix being pretty far behind. He's the 3rd guy on the depth chart. He's 3rd string. It's a lot on Karlaftis' shoulders this year. I think he could take it on, but it's performance related too.
Kansas City.
Trying to unwind for the summer? Look no further than From the Earth Dispensaries. With 5 locations in Kansas City, Independence, and Raytown, they've got all the cannabis you dream of. Visit their website at ftemo.com to place a pickup order. Sign up for the rewards program to earn points on every purchase. And don't forget to try Professor Puff, their AI bud tender designed to match you with the perfect products for your preferences. Visit ftemo.com to get started.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch? Every day, from lunch to late night. Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks is always adding exciting cocktails to the menu, like the expertly balanced Cincoro Hall of Fame Margarita. Try it at your local lodge today.
When you're about to pop the real question to a lady you think is the real deal, don't screw it up with a ring that is anything but. This is Jean at House of Diamonds. Look, you know she wants and deserves a one-of-a-kind custom ring. Real custom means that it was designed for her, handcrafted for her, and finished for her and only for her. Picking a ring from a collection and then choosing options from a list isn't real custom. At House of Diamonds, your original one-of-a-kind custom ring is 100% designed, crafted, and finished right here in our shop, just for her. Oh, and you won't find any lab-grown love at House of Diamonds. Her timeless, real, natural diamond will be from our collection of the top 5% in each grade. Guys, you only get one chance to get this right. You don't get 3 strikes, and there is no replay official. Come see me, Gene, at House of Diamonds. House of Diamonds on the southeast corner of College and Quivira.
Hey, Kansas City golf fans, it's time to have some fun in the sun and save 20% off your next round of golf. Great Life Golf has courses all across Kansas City. They're in great shape with friendly staff awaiting your visit. Swing by GreatLifeKC.com with promo code 810radio for 20% off any classic or premier tee time. How will you spend your savings? Maybe a sleeve of balls. Visit GreatLifeKC.com and use promo code 810radio to receive 20% off. That's GreatLifeKC.com and 810radio.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hello, it's Mark Whitlow from Office Products Alliance. Kansas City is on a roll. So many good things are coming our way. Many outsiders are realizing what a great community we have built. They are moving here and planning major events here. Our community's local businesses and their leaders have played a significant role. Let's continue to support our local businesses. Together, we can make Kansas City a better place for all of us. Check us out at opakc.com.
Jazz, a Louisiana kitchen. Let the good times roll. That's what they do at Jazz. You don't have to be from New Orleans to enjoy the great Southern cooking. The best Cajun cuisine outside of the Big Easy. Can't make it to Jazz? Let them know and they'll bring the taste, smells, and sounds of the French Quarter to you for your home or office parties. Jazz, the original location on State Line or Legends in Village West.
Now more than ever, if you own or operate a medical facility, you need Walker Medical Linen Service. They provide everything your medical facility needs. A Kansas City-based company, Walker Medical Linen Services works with large hospital groups, surgery centers, medical clinics, and one-of-a-kind specialty medical spas. They supply linens, toweling, scrubs, lab coats, and patient gowns. Their processing facility is HLAC certified, the highest accreditation for a medical laundry. If you're looking to upgrade your current medical linen service, go to WalkerMLS.com.
Red Game Day is brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System, the official healthcare provider of the Kansas City Chiefs. Learn more at kansashealthsystem.com/Chiefs. That's kansashealthsystem.com/Chiefs.
The Zone is brought to you by Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Again, our training camp coverage presented by Barstool Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino, Bud Light, Greengrass Cattle Company, and Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park. We heard Andy Reid looking forward to the challenge of the first preseason game and the Saints. Patrick Mahomes and George Karlaftis. We talked a little bit about Karlaftis, what this game, this season, pressure, all of that stuff. Mahomes was asked about Eric Bieniemy and what he wants to see from game number one, and adding the new tackles would be good to get out there, get a feel for those guys, and get in the game, mix it up a little bit. Andy Reid lied to the media and said that the quarterbacks and the ones will each get a quarter. So the quarterbacks will get quarters. The ones will go the first quarter, then twos, threes, fours, etc., which is clearly not true because Patrick Mahomes ain't playing the entire first quarter.
Mahomes said a series or two.
For the preseason.
Yes, that was also my take.
I didn't hear in a game. I just heard you want to get a couple of drives underneath your belt just to sort of get a feel for it before you're ready to go. Like, he got 3 last year. He got 3 drives last year. And what was the stat that Lebo had? The last time Aaron Rodgers took a snap in preseason was like 2019 or something?
Something crazy, yeah.
I mean, it's the Rams don't play anybody.
Nope.
But they also have joint practices. So
That's
there's
true.
the difference.
That's true.
The Rams believe in Sean McVay believes in joint practices, but not playing players in the preseason. Andy Reid believes in 0 joint practices, but getting guys out there and playing in the preseason. Both have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, turns out being a good coach and having good players all of those things can matter, but the players want to go out there and they want to at least get some time and play a little bit. And I do think with the new tackles, with Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor out there, that, Mahomes at least getting some time, or also those guys playing a full quarter, those guys playing with the offensive line a little bit more than, do you need Mahomes back there to be the one that's, those tackles playing on the line for the first time in a real game? Do you need Mahomes being the guy, or is Gabbert and Bichelle and, I can't remember. I always forget how to pronounce his name.
I think it's Oladaokun. Somebody yesterday said
a lot of condos.
Said Oladukin, which sounds like the Street Fighter thing. So I don't know, or like maybe Skyrim. I don't know. I think it makes some sense to not want the first time Patrick Mahomes gets hit to be against the Lions on Thursday Night Football. Like, I think it makes a little bit of sense that if you're not going to get hit, you're wearing the yellow jersey in practice throughout all training camp. That's okay. And then I think that first team O-line probably does and probably should play the first quarter.
Yes.
It'll just be with one scoring drive with Patrick Mahomes. I will say the Chiefs will score points with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, and then he will exit the game. If they go 3 and out and punt, I bet he comes back in for a second drive.
Well, he could play the entire first quarter. If the Saints get the ball first and have a longer drive, then the Chiefs get the ball and have a longer drive. Then the Saints get the ball and have a longer drive. The next time a quarterback will come into the game for the Chiefs will be in the second quarter.
I think that happened once over the last couple of years, actually.
It'd be like, he played the entire first quarter. Yeah. That's what Andy Reid said.
1 7-minute drive.
That's right. And then, he was asked about Charles Omenihu, was Andy Reid, and said he'll get time. He'll be with the ones and then rotational, even though on the depth chart he's listed as a second string, but said he'll be in there with the ones. So does that mean he's, playing for Mike Dana or Karl Loftus or whatever?
Right.
I don't know where, he's going to fit in, but I'm more in line. Adam Teicher and I talked about this on Tuesday and, asked him, with Omenihu not playing 6 weeks, do you change your strategy in the preseason and practices to where he's working in less? Mm-hmm. You're getting other guys that are going to be playing now and have more responsibilities to get them more reps, put more on their plate so they can get more used to what it is that it's going to be like week in and week out. Teicher went the other way and said, well, if he's not going to be playing for 6 weeks, you want to get him rep after rep after rep. My view would be, but then he gets the rust the next 6 weeks. So how much the reps he's getting over a Felix or Malik Herring or whoever else it might be, are those going to be vital for him on October 22nd, 23rd, whenever, right, or is it going to be more vital for those players on September 7th? Because if he was only going to be out 2 or 3 games, I could see that.
Yeah,
I could see
absolutely.
that. 6 weeks is different. There's a lot of rust for football shape that's lost in a month and a half.
And we're getting real nerdy here in the depth chart, everybody, so go ahead and get those chin straps buckled up.
That's right.
But, I would rather see Truman Jones get as many reps as possible to just see what he's showing right now. And the Chiefs are going to see
Truman Jones.
How could I not? How could I not?
TJ.
Harvard, everybody. I want to see as much of him as possible because I want to know, hey, is this a developmental project worth the time, essentially? Yeah. And that's the thing what the Chiefs are going to be looking at.
Well, instead of Omenihu, like B.J. Thompson.
So B.J. Thompson's one who no, it's okay. I did the video somewhere on the 810 socials. You can go watch me talk about B.J. Thompson if you'd like.
Yeah.
Because he is like the guy right now who I think just saw his preseason change the most potentially, unless he gets out there as the non-stereotypical, non-Spagsy edge who's a little too skinny but is a little bendy, has some burst, but he's smaller than your usual Spags end. Maybe he gets out there and gets blown off the line of scrimmage, and it's yikes, man. Well, we're going to get you in the weight room for a while. We're going to stash you somewhere where we can, and let's see if Josh Kaindoh can do anything. Because, again, we're talking about DE 6, 7, and 8 here, but this is it for Josh Kaindoh. If at the end of this preseason he has not shown that he has taken strides, then it's over. And maybe someone else will give him another shot. But this is really, he has not shown very much. Even per some conversations I've had, nothing super top secret. But even in practices, he's just not.
Clark Hunt.
Clark Hunt texted me and he said, "Man, I really regret drafting anyone ever named Joshua." And I'm like, "Dude, I get it. I could have warned you. They're unreliable."
There's no E in his name.
There's no E anywhere in there.
Really good player.
Yeah, if it was Joshua Kane DOE, it would be a different story. But DOH,
but it turns out to be dope.
It's just dope. That's exactly right. So Echo Boydo, he can stick around because
Duh.
he fits the scheme. But that is the position group that I think is the most interesting because there are guys who we haven't seen get very many live reps. I'm happy to see Mike Dana take 5 and then go sit down. I know who Mike Dana is. I want him to be ready for the season.
Yep.
But I don't need to see that. For Omenihu, my one little pin in that would be that you want to make sure he is going to be up to speed when he does return, just mentally, schematically in the defense. But I don't think that necessarily raises or lowers how much he plays. I think that's probably just kind of sticking to the plan. And then there really are a bunch of guys where we're doing the post-game show here on Sunday. I'm going to be in that chair, and we're going to be talking about Truman Jones and B.J. Thompson and Deneric Prince, and I'm going to be excited about it because the third and fourth quarter of this game is going to be kind of fun.
I agreed. I like the first preseason game from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is, okay, you maybe see the starters a little bit more. Third one,
yeah.
Starters probably don't play. Most of the guys that are playing are putting film on for other teams, which doesn't, affect me.
But by the way, we've talked about coaching so much. Andy Reid saying, especially in this game, everyone will play. They've earned that, an opportunity to get some NFL tape. It's just another hey, whenever people talk about Andy Reid being a player's coach or whatever, a lot of that stuff has gone away with 2 Super Bowls. But I think that's a good way to treat your players like human beings and to reward them for the work they've put in when people aren't really watching. You've got fans out there, but if you're the third string O-line, you're not getting much tape out there. You will on Sunday, so be ready for it. That's a cool way to be, I think.
Because right now, the Chiefs' defensive line, even with Chris Jones, the defensive ends are Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Omenihu, Herring, Felix, Kendo, B.J. Thompson, and Turk. Turk's still working back from the injury. Well, Turk's defensive tackle, so I'm not going to include him because, so just
he can end up outside, but it's not as usual.
Chris Jones, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to erase that one. But the guys who realistically could be on the team: Karlaftis, Dana, Omenihu, Herring, Felix, Kendo, B.J. Thompson. You take Omenihu away, your third defensive end is Malik Herring.
Mm-hmm.
Your fourth is either Felix, who is a ways behind but hopefully by the time September 7th gets there, the more reps, he's a damn fine player. So I expect him to get up to speed pretty quickly and
it would be huge for this defense.
Really good.
Yeah.
And then Kendo, a project, and B.J. Thompson, essentially, Joshua Thompson.
Right.
B.J. Kendo. Just those two guys are the Spider-Man meme pointing back to each other. And
one of them just got a newer contract and a few less years on his age.
Yeah, one of them has fewer wrinkles in his face in the Spider-Man meme.
That's right.
One of them's Tobey Maguire.
B.J. Thompson's Tom Holland.
That's exactly right.
Who is Andrew Garfield here? That might be Malik Herring. Yeah,
I would say Malik Herring. So that's the issue with Omenihu as to why I'm okay with him not getting many reps. To be honest with you, because he ain't going to be there for 6 weeks, and even if the Chiefs sign Chris Jones and extend him, the question's going to be, do they go and get somebody else with the what could be $10 million of cap space that they save, and then that person, a Dunlap and Ingram, something like that comes in. Okay, now you feel a little bit better because your third defensive end is Malik Herring again, but your third defensive end is Malik Herring until week 7.
Right.
And then it's Omenihu or whoever, or Dunlap and Ingram, or whatever the mix in, or maybe by then it's Felix and Udike Uzama, which would be great. It just changes the dynamic and the feel because I think Mike Dana's a fine player.
Yep.
It's a fine player. But this team needs a little bit more than a fine player opposite Karlaftis.
Mike Dana's a lovely DE3.
And a guy, and really good, who can slide down on the inside in pass rushing situations, and I like that about him, and he offers that versatility to the Chiefs. But man, that's just defensive ends, which goes back to the weight and the scale of continuing to put more and more on the Chris Jones side of the importance for him on this defense, and especially that defensive line. It is just Karlaftis. Dana's a fine player. He becomes an even better player when Chris Jones is on the line of scrimmage and they got to worry about him, and you get a one-on-one with Dana or whatever it might be.
I talked about this yesterday. I don't know if you saw the graph as I retweeted it out again and everything. The Seth Walder graph from last year of defensive tackles on the XY axis of double team rate and pass rush win rate.
And Chris Jones.
He is in the Patrick Mahomes spot. He is top right corner by himself.
Although
he wins and makes everyone else around him better.
My bad. Go ahead.
No, that was the.
I was just going to ask. I remember that graph, but I remember maybe when we talked about it. Was Aaron Donald on that? Or?
He didn't qualify. He was not among qualifying defensive ends because of the number of games he missed.
Even though he didn't qualify, I just would love to see where his.
I would too. I'm guessing he would be up there, right up there with Jones. But yeah, the cutoff in Seth Walder's graph because he played 11 games. I don't know what the cutoff was, but
12.
Some number of snaps probably.
Snaps,
I don't know. And Donald only in those 11 games he had 5 only as a defensive tackle, only 5 sacks last year. So he probably wasn't as productive in those games. He's dealing with the injuries and stuff too. But
Joe Corey, I want to get into more of Chris Jones. Let's do that right now, and then the rest of this hour, really, because I think there's a lot of meat on the bone from Nate Taylor and Matt Derrick's article, and we'll talk to Matt Derrick coming up at noon. But Joe Corey at CBS said, after playing 7 years in the NFL, these are tweets that came out in the last hour from Joe Corey of CBS Sports. After playing 7 years in the NFL, Chris Jones knows how to get ready for the season. Aaron Donald won Defensive Player of the Year following each of his holdouts, which he missed the entire preseason. Something to keep in mind when it's like, well, if you miss the preseason, you worry about injuries, which I do. You worry about how up to speed you are, which I do. You worry about the rust from game number 1, which I do. But a great point by Joe Corey. Aaron Donald held out twice, missed the entire preseason twice, won Defensive Player of the Year both times. And he said, and he continued with another tweet, said, there's plenty of time to get a deal done. He was asked, do you think a deal gets done? He goes, yes, there's plenty of time to get a deal done. As an agent, I was involved in a holdout where there wasn't a new deal until right around Labor Day. And then said, what about before the season? Does it get done before then? He said, yes. Aaron Donald signed his new deal on September 1st when he held out for a second straight year in 2018. So into September. So there's at least some precedent of this guy didn't sign, missed the entire preseason, and was still that guy. Was still that dude, Aaron Donald being the Defensive Player of the Year. The Chris Jones stuff, specifically, holding pattern we heard from Nate Taylor and his story, in that, and then also Nate Taylor offering commentary. This isn't a quote, but offering commentary in the piece of saying, Veach said the ongoing communication and negotiations between the parties have been professional, but he also offered that amid the slowly growing tension between the parties, Nate Taylor writing that, amid the slowly growing tension between the parties, General Manager Brett Veach stressed on Wednesday that many of the facts from a month ago remain true about wanting to get Chris Jones done. I don't think Nate Taylor just assumed there's growing tensions between the parties. That is not a direct quote. Could be I'm not gonna, don't quote me on this, but blah, blah, blah. Could be a general conversation. More information there. Commentary by Nate Taylor. Either way, amid the slowly growing tension between the parties, that's something that's out there.
Yeah.
Matt Derrick's piece talking about that they don't want to see things happen of Chris Jones missing games. They don't like the fact that they've got to fine him. But he says, as we get closer to the season, the dynamic changes in regards to just the way it's set up. And as it gets closer, you feel like just naturally things have to come to a head. But we're again cautiously optimistic. Brett Veach. You put those things together and you hear Diana Rossini about the Chiefs were surprised. You hear Brett Veach with Jesse Newell saying, well, the talks will start up again, that they aren't talking right now, the holding pattern. You get a sense of this isn't happening anytime soon. And you get a sense of there's some frustrations from the Chiefs side of maybe what's going on the Chris Jones side. And is there frustration because they thought they would move a little bit closer, quicker? Or is there frustration that the details have changed from the Chris Jones side of what the Chiefs thought they were negotiating towards to now, well, hold on, you just moved the goalpost here. What are we doing now? I mean, all of these things we were talking about, like, has there been something that has tangibly changed in the Chris Jones camp to where it makes it more frustrating, where it just has to be a cooling off period? All right, you didn't show up to camp. We're good. We'll speak some other time, whatever. It'll come to a head. Growing tension between the parties. Cautiously optimistic. Holding pattern. There's a lot of words and phrases being used by Brett Veach this week to sort of, at least through the media, describe what's happening, but also to let the fans know, Josh, we want to sign Chris Jones. Mm-hmm. We want to do that. And that's awesome. I want to get in shape and get a six-pack back. Humble brag.
Back, you said.
There you go.
Back.
I want to get that back. I doubt I'm going to put in the work to do that.
Yeah. I wonder in the idea of the terms changing, the goalposts moving. I wonder if the Katz brothers thought that Quinnen Williams was going to have a bigger number, because for a long time it was like an open secret that, hey, we're going to make you the second highest paid defensive tackle in football. But now there's a pretty big gap between Aaron Donald and Quinnen Williams. Going back, this isn't Brett Veach this week. This is Andy Reid at the beginning of camp. But Andy Reid saying he was surprised Chris Jones wasn't there is something that still sticks in my head now as the terminology of all of these things changes a little bit. Back at the ring ceremony, what did Brett Veach say? Now, look, maybe Chris Jones was sick and maybe there were whatever.
This is his kind of party. He'll be here.
I'd be shocked if he isn't here.
Yep.
This is his kind of party. I'd be shocked if he wasn't here. Now, now Nate's story yesterday, the lead of it was, at this point, no one in the Kansas City Chiefs organization expects him to arrive here at Missouri Western State before the end of training camp.
Yeah.
Something has changed. I don't know that it's catastrophic. Like we've talked about, there's still room for this to work out. This isn't the drop-dead deadline. Chris Jones tweeted last night, I'm not a fortune teller. I got one more year on my contract. So I that to me read as him saying, so far from officially saying, but more or less read like, hey, look, man, he's not going to sit out games. We already were pretty sure about that. I think the deadline, the real deadline now is week 1. And at week 1, you will either have a long-term extension or he'll be playing out that 1 year, and it's going to be really strange vibes for what is going to be the Chris Jones, so long farewell tour. This is going to be Elton John's 15th farewell tour of going, goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. I've got you here, and then they're going to tag me, and then you're going to trade me to Miami or somewhere before next year's draft. And that didn't work for Tyrann Mathieu. He was worse with that setup. I'm not saying you can't have guys on lame duck contracts, but to have leaders on your defense who have performed admirably, in Chris Jones' case, one of the best defensive players in football, it would create a little bit of a weird energy around a team that's trying to go back-to-back.
Another quote that I meant to mention with Nate Taylor's piece said with Brett Veach, you'd like to keep the communications positive as long as possible. You'd like to keep the communication positive as long as possible. The reality of it is, at some point, if there isn't a resolution, that communication may become not as positive. That's just something we'll have to deal with. Coming to a head, growing tensions, cautiously optimistic. Naturally, things have to come to a head. Resolution, communication may become not as positive. Also, Randy Mueller was quoted in this that he says, and former general manager in the NFL says that as each day passes, the Chiefs will gain more leverage in the negotiations, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, then the Chiefs would have already gained leverage to where you would think that Chris Jones would be in camp right now. Unless the plan all along was, we don't even need to get back into negotiations because I ain't going to St. Joe.
Right.
So there's really no use in doing this. We'll give him a call after preseason game number 1 when it's only a few days left of St. Joe. Get some things done. I'll be in Kansas City. But it's interesting, as each day passes, the Chiefs will gain more leverage in the negotiations. It'll get resolved because time is running out. I guarantee there's some life preserver that the Chiefs can throw out there to make it a little bit more palatable. That's an interesting thing from his assessment is there's something the Chiefs are holding back that they'd be willing to throw into the deal. They just ain't willing to do it right now.
Yeah.
And then it's a game of chicken of, do the Katz brothers believe that that's out there? And if they just simply hold their water, that will eventually be put in the deal that'll make it a little bit more palatable than right now. And And how soon would the Chiefs be willing to do that, if that is something that is actually out there?
And why whatever that thing is, whatever that little extra little freebie is, why wait until the last minute in this game of chicken? And that might be that it's another year mostly guaranteed, which would be a lot of money and a little bit of a risk, right? I mean, you know, paying players for their age 31, 32 seasons in guaranteed cash is a tough way to do it. But this is one of 3 exceptions for players who really, really, really individually move the needle on this team beyond the level of Tyreek Hill, because they showed you what they thought there. I don't know if they thought that $50,000 a day was going to be the thing that eventually made the Jones camp break first. I don't know how violent this game of chicken is going to end up being, but it's a little bit strange to me still that we're here now on August 11th, and there hasn't been a reasonable middle ground, that 2 potentially reasonable sides who have negotiated a contract before also. This isn't Orlando Brown Jr. hiring an agent who doesn't have another NFL client, or a relationship with Drew Rosenhaus really putting his foot in the dirt and saying, bleep you guys, man. Bleep you all the way to Miami. I mean, this is a group, this is a negotiating table that has worked out another long-term contract for the same player previously. I don't know what the status of that relationship is, but I can ask a lot of questions about it.
All right, on the other side, I want to talk about a couple of different things from this discussion. One of those being about the deadlines and the dates as they come and go, and the other one being a connection between Chris Jones and the rest of the Chiefs and the salary cap and players and draft picks and their contracts, and if that ever becomes an issue of tension, not just, well, he's not there. Start talking about money. Chris Jones has been through that, but he was taken care of by his teammate. Is he doing the same for others? We'll take a timeout. We'll talk about that next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810 WHB. WHB.
At Roberts Robinson Chevrolet Buick GMC, get up to 0% APR on select vehicles and a $1,000 allowance in extra truck accessories. Check out their inventory of vehicles ready to sell today. Go to robertsrobinson.com or Facebook Roberts Robinson.
Summertime is here and so is that humid Kansas City weather. Make sure to beat the heat this summer with a fresh, clean cut from Roosters Men's Grooming Center. Make an impression this summer by looking your absolute best when you walk into your next event. Download the Roosters app to book your next barbershop experience or give us a call. Get the all-inclusive Roosters Club Cut, head massage, shampoo, steam towel, and style for only $30. Mention 810 and receive $5 off your next service. Relax, rest, and restore at Roosters Men's Grooming Center in Parkville.
Hey Kansas City, it's Justin Reed, safety for your Kansas City Chiefs. As you know, it was a great first year here in Kansas City. And that's right, the whole time I was driving my F-150 from Victory Ford.
Come in today and check out our great selection of F-150s and experience the Victory Ford difference.
Brian Pringle and his team at Victory Ford are not only a world-class dealership with great selection of new and pre-owned vehicles and top-notch customer service, but also a great partner with the J. Reed and D Foundation.
Visit us today at the Legends or VictoryFordKC.com, where our first price is better than their last.
Did you know the Big Biscuit was founded and is headquartered right here in Kansas City? Named Best Breakfast KC, this family-friendly spot is your go-to for a bigger, better breakfast. With over a dozen area locations, the Big Biscuit serves Kansas City in a big way. Open daily from 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. The Big Biscuit has proudly served friendly smiles, big portions, and classic comfort flavors to the Kansas City community since 2000. Hungry for more? Check out BigBiscuit.com.
Get 11% off and elevate the look of your home with Menards. We carry the largest selection of Hunter ceiling fans in many styles and sizes. Ceiling fans are perfect for adding light, comfort, and style to any room, while helping you save on energy bills year-round. Get the 44-inch Auberville LED ceiling fan for $89.97 after 11% rebate. Good through August 13th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Matt Coker here with West Coast Men's Health. In the past 5 years, we've seen thousands of men at our clinics. Most guys tell us the same story, that in their early 50s, it's not that they couldn't function, they just needed help. They started taking Viagra, and it worked great at first. But after a few years, it stopped working. The problem is that their arteries had become more restricted since they started taking it, because Viagra does not unclog arteries. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we use acoustic wave therapy to target the real problem. We break down plaque and clear up the arteries so blood can flow like it did in your 20s. This restores function. And guys, listen to this. You won't have to take a pill anymore. So if this sounds like you, give West Coast Men's Health a call today and see how we can help.
West Coast Men's Health now also treats chronic pain, including neuropathy, plantar fasciitis, and carpal tunnel. Call 913-243-3200. That's 913-243-3200. Or online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Performance Food Service in Lee Summit is growing and looking for energetic, reliable, and hardworking individuals to join their warehouse and transportation teams. A leader in serving Kansas City, they are responsible for ensuring their customers get the products they order on time and in perfect condition. Drivers are home nightly, make up to $90,000 annually, and work a 4-day work week with most routes local within the Kansas City area. Benefits offered on day one. Go to pfgc.com/careers. Search Lee Summit Mo for more information on their job postings at Performance Food Service. If you are driven to succeed, come drive for Performance Food Service.
Safe Money Scott here, founder of Village Planners. Did your investments take a bit of a hit last year? Can you afford a repeat of 2008? As a local Kansas City agency, Village Planners focuses on safe money concepts. With our accounts, when the market goes up, your money grows. When the market crashes, you don't lose a dime. When it bounces back, your money grows again without having to make up for the losses. We have accounts averaging double-digit growth the last 10 years. Visit our webpage at villageplanners.com to schedule an appointment today. That's villageplanners.com.
and rolling hills countryside. The R Farm family are fourth-generation farmers producing bourbon, rye whiskey, and other signature spirits from grains grown on their farm. Try their tangerine ginger vodka, gooey buttercake cream liqueur, or their summer hit cherry limeade vodka. Visit rfarmdistilling.com for more information and to find where to purchase their farm-grown spirits. R Farm Distilling Company, the farmer's spirit from field to finish.
Are you looking for a career change? Let Sports Radio 810 help you with your search. Many local companies are hiring right now. Go to 810WHB.com, click on the Community tab, and search Job Connections. Great companies in Kansas City need you right now, and the compensation and benefits packages are excellent. Great companies like TVH, Twin Peaks, and Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Check it out by logging on to 810WHB.com, clicking the Community tab, and searching Job Connections. 810 Job Connections, connecting you with your next career.
WHB Kansas City.
Hey Kansas City golf fans, it's time to have some fun in the sun and save 20% off your next round of golf. Great Life Golf has courses all across Kansas City. They're in great shape with friendly staff awaiting your visit. Swing by GreatLifeKC.com with promo code 810radio for 20% off any classic or premier tee time. How will you spend your savings? Maybe a sleeve of balls. Visit GreatLifeKC.com and use promo code 810radio to receive 20% off. That's GreatLifeKC.com and 810radio.
You know there's a reason that cannabis connoisseurs drive past a dozen or more dispensaries to shop at Relief Resources Dispensary in Grandview. Actually, there are lots of reasons, but two of them are Kansas City's only two Ganjiers. Ganjiers are to cannabis what sommeliers are to wine. They're the master chocolatiers of marijuana, certified experts who not only inspect and evaluate flower with a jewelry-grade magnifying lens, but also grade aroma, flavor, and experience. So when you walk into Relief Resources Dispensary, you're not only greeted by the region's best hand-curated selection of marijuana products, you're greeted by the region's only certified marijuana experts, able to match any med patient or recreational patient to the exact experience they're looking for. Are you a veteran? Thank you for your service, and ask about special discounts. Discounts are also available for seniors over 65, low-income med patients, and public safety workers with a med card. Priority checkout for med patients, too. Relief Resources Dispensary in Grandview on 71 Highway at 140th Street and online at reliefmo.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Compensated dramatization.
What if your car wreck case was settled for $25,000 and you later found out it may have been worth millions of dollars?
Insurance companies try to trick you into taking a quick, cheap settlement. Don't fall for it. Call me. My team will get you what your case is worth.
I didn't let the insurance company pressure me into a fast, cheap settlement. I called Mike and his team and they got me $3.2 million.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, call me. I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're always better with a roof from JR.
Well, that was fun. And who says we don't get hurricanes in KC? That storm that blew through last week had Category 1 hurricane winds. And now, here come all the hail-chasing roofers. But there was no hail. And inspecting a roof for wind damage is a lot different than inspecting for hail damage. Unlike hail's dings and dents, wind damage likes to hide until the next storm when your roof leaks. That is exactly why you need to call JR & Company. With years of hurricane experience in Florida, locally owned JR & Company knows how to find the wind damage that others might miss. And they know how to deal with insurance adjusters on wind claims. As always, our inspection and your peace of mind are free at jrroofcheck.com.
You're always better with a roof from JR.
Visit jrroofcheck.com.
Red Game Day is brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System, the official healthcare provider of the Kansas City Chiefs. Learn more at kansashealthsystem.com/Chiefs. That's kansashealthsystem.com/Chiefs.
The Zone is brought to you by Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food. better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe and Drake, heading up until 2 o'clock. Matt Derrick with us. Path to Training Camp with Matt Derrick, Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, presenting that. Zero Res and also Rally House. Matt Derrick joining us here on this Friday edition. Matt, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing dandy. Is this our last Path of Training Camp? Does it change next week, or are we still on the Path of Training Camp, even though we'll be back in Kansas City?
I don't know. I'll go ask the sales department, see how long this path ends going on. I don't know. Is it still training camp while they're in KC? I think that's, I think it is. I don't know.
Technically, according to the NFL,
right?
Their definition, it runs through September 3rd. So if you need me to keep my machete out clearing that path, I will keep doing it.
No, I appreciate that. The Chiefs do need a fullback somewhere, so you would then be able to be our fullback leading the way, our sausage, as you will, of the show.
I've been called a sausage before.
There you go. The 1/3 of the George Karlaftis breakfast, bacon, rice, and sausage. So
can't beat that, can you? That's
no,
the breakfast of champions.
Not at all. And the reason it's still camp is because other teams don't travel. So they just stay there in training camp. Just because the Chiefs go somewhere for a month and then head back to Kansas City doesn't mean training camp is over for them. Can
I get a copyright on that? Training stay camps? Is that what we can go with that?
That's right. Training glamp.
Yeah,
that's training glamping.
It's a staycation.
Oh, this is a Mick Schaefer training glamping for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. The Chiefs are camping. Other teams are glamping.
The Cowboys glamp. They don't camp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're a resort for crying out loud. They glamp the heck out of that.
Big-time Power 5 programs glamp. There used to be a lot of them that would camp, go somewhere else and get away. There's very few of them left. Northwestern was one of them, but obviously with everything that took place, that was one of the stories, is that they didn't go to their camp.
Good call.
Kickaway or something like that. Because, if these ADs are like, hey, we just built you a $600 million complex, and now you want to go somewhere else to train. Not happening. You're training right frickin' there, okay? That's what's happening.
And I was thinking of Joshua actually just now, because I am in my studio away from studio, my home away from the studio during training camp, which is the Blum Academic Resource Center, the BARC. That's where I am. And that just seems like a very Josh place to be.
It is. I mean, you're barking up the wrong tree apparently, but you're on the right radio show.
Exactly.
Do you guys know what they always say about Andy Reid training camps? That are real camps?
What?
Like all camps. They're intense.
That is why that's why you make the big bucks, Joshua. That is why you are on Mount Rushmore.
You just climbed up there?
I think there are people who would like to push me off Mount Rushmore right now, and I might be among them.
That's right. Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest is our guest. All right, Matt, I want to pick your brain in your conversation with Brett Veach. We've talked about a few of the quotes that came out at Chiefs Digest. You can go and read the entire thing that Matt Derrick put out there, and really interesting. And by the way, the first one in Conversations with Brett Veach this week that connected to other players getting things done. So well done on that, Matt. So actually taking a new angle, which also, sparked and piqued my interest that, we talked a little bit about that in the show so far today. But as you talk to Brett Veach, is there we read the quotes and things like that, but I can't hear him talking, right? There's no inflection or tone. Do you read into anything in hearing Brett Veach talk, the words he's saying versus maybe a message or how he's saying it, anything different than what it would read on paper?
The only thing that I thought really stood out to me, and this is there's a little bit of reading into this, which I don't like to do, but I also put it in the story. The only time that Brett really paused at any point, like he really was thinking about what he was going to say or was just considering the weight of his words, was just when I asked him if he was surprised about Chris holding out, and it going 20 days like it has so far. And now we're in 21 actually, but he took a deep breath. I mean, he kind of just thought for a moment and sighed and kind of started an answer, and then finally just rebooted and started exactly with what I said there, which talking about from his perspective and seeing both sides of it. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, we've heard it from Andy Reid. There was there was not an expectation that this is where the two sides would be. They thought that Chris would be here at some point. We thought there was a reasonable chance that he would report to camp on day one. Certainly, I don't think there was an expectation that it was going to be 21 days then. And I mean, I have my theories. I mean, there's speculation about why. I mean, I think you can make some conclusions about why Chris isn't here. I think it would be very difficult for him to do a hold in Kansas City, because I don't know if that's a conversation that he'd be comfortable having with Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid, saying, yeah, you know what, I'm here, but I'm not going to work out for 21 days. I think there's a lot to it. So that's the only thing I really I think there was a takeaway from it. Brett does a good job of holding his cards close to the vest. I mean, he is, I think, very open with us for most GMs, at least, talking about his thought process and everything. I mean, sure, there's going to be things that he doesn't share, but I've always, appreciated his, I think, honesty and transparency as much as he can and feels comfortable with. But I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, the Chiefs are surprised that they're at this point. They thought that this would be resolved by now. And the fact that it isn't, it does throw a wrench in some other things that they want to do.
The quote there is, he says, I have a different, this is after he paused, started, stopped, and then started again, said, I have a different perspective because on one end, certainly we're working hard to keep Chris and certainly want him here. On the other end, I absolutely respect the business side of things. Whatever a player and his agent, whatever I guess their approach and how they want to do things, he's earned that right in regards to what he thinks is best for him in his future. So I can read that as opposed to hearing it. And if I read that part, Matt, and this is where things can be interpreted one way or another, I can hear that last part and go, whatever a player and his agent, whatever I guess their approach is and how they do things, he's earned that right in regards to what he thinks is best for him in his future. Or I can read it, whatever a player and his agent, whatever I guess their approach is and how they do things, he's earned that right. You know what I mean? Like those two different ways of hearing it, because that part stood out of whatever I guess their approach and how they do things stood out to me in talking about the Katz brothers and Chris Jones, maybe different than other conversations he's had with agents in, well, whatever their approach is and how they do things, because it was an answer about holding out of camp.
Yeah, and and this is a somewhat unique situation. I mean, people talk about comparing it to other situations. Well, no, because in some of these other places, it's guys that are holding out because they're under the franchise tag. They're not under contract. This is a different situation, and at least listening to your inflection and reading that, I was taking it with the first one having a little bit of sarcasm in it.
Okay.
And the second one, being a much more even-sided, and I felt like Brett was being very even-sided.
Okay, so you felt it was more of the second one.
Yeah, I definitely felt it was more of him saying, "Hey, you know what? This is our side of things. This is Chris's side of things," and he understands that. He gets it. But I do. I mean, I think that, hey, with a different environment, maybe this would be a different outcome, and with a different situation and a scenario, maybe it wouldn't unfold exactly this way, and it certainly wouldn't be the surprise. I mean, if this were 2020 when Chris had the franchise tag, if they got the deal done, had he not gotten the deal done and held out in the beginning of camp, that wouldn't be much of a surprise.
We talked about the fact that, he wanted a new deal before his fourth year, playing 3 years in the NFL. So the summer of 2019, he wanted a new contract. He had missed the off-season workouts, OTAs, mini camps, things like that, showed up for the first day of training camp, but he wanted a new contract. Is part of the surprise, maybe from Brett Veach and Andy Reid, is the last time they went through this with Chris Jones, that he wanted a new deal while still under contract, because 2020 was the franchise tag and they got things. That was a hard deadline there of being able to negotiate. That the last time this happened, he showed up, he was there at camp. They also didn't get something done, and he went through the franchise tag. So maybe that's sort of, they've kind of created the situation of him saying, I showed up in 2019 and nothing got done. And then I had to play, go through the whole franchise tag the next year, not doing it this year. Is there an element of, because he was there in 2019, even with the contract stuff, that there's a surprise that he then didn't show up this time because they maybe expected it to be a little bit like 2019?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think there was definitely the expectation that because Chris has generally always been there. I mean, there's been some times when we skipped some things, but for the most part, Chris has always been a guy who has been there. So yeah, I do think that there's a little bit of a surprise, and somewhat because I think that they were led to believe that. I mean, I don't think that I don't get the sense that there was ever a conversation had where Chris said, yeah, guys, I'm not going to show up to training camp. I think that it was kind of whether it was intentional or whether it was just not said, not spoken, and not verbalized. As far as just saying I'm not going to be there, I think that there was at least an unspoken understanding that Chris would be at training camp, if not day one, then pretty quickly. So, yeah, I think that that's a little bit of the surprise and frustration. And like said, Brett's one of the first things he said to me is like, this job, nothing surprises me anymore. So, he's been around long enough that, he knew that this was a possibility in a scenario. But I once again, it gets back to no one really thought that they would be in this case. And this, because this is something, let's face it, they knew was always going to happen. This year of this contract with that cap number, it was never really meant to exist. It was never really meant to be played. The expectation was that Chris would get to this point, and if he had played well enough, you would restructure and extend him and give him a new deal. If he had not, if he'd gotten hurt and underperformed, you would have walked away from Chris Jones and probably released him. So they're in kind of a limbo, as far as what's happened, because they're in the worst-case scenario. Chris played extremely well. He's earned a new contract, but that year, that number, that 19.5 and the $28 million cap, it's still sitting out there.
The difference also between like 2019 and now is, I think from the Chiefs' perspective, they probably sat back and said, okay, Chris Jones has been awesome and has come off an amazing season, but this will be the first time in Chris Jones' career, this going into the 2019 season, that he's not playing with Justin Houston and Dee Ford on the outside, making the pocket a little bit more palatable for Chris Jones to get sacks, and things were flushed to him, and how much he benefited from those guys. Do we give Chris Jones a huge contract when he may be a product of other guys around him making him better? Where, as we know now, the other guys have been a product of him making them better. So I can understand maybe waiting and seeing with that. At the time, he's proven it over and over again that he's that good. So as you've said, there's been this summer on the calendar was going to happen with his contract, and even him, Brett Veach, connecting it to Tyreek Hill from that decision a year ago. The words and phrases we've heard this week from Brett Veach and all different things that have been written are the communication can grow to not be as positive. Things are going to, in your thing, so just naturally, things have to come to a head. A cooling off period, then there's an expectation they will heat up again. It's a holding pattern, cautiously optimistic. Those are all the different things we've heard this week from Brett Veach about this contract and Chris Jones. In your story, it's the first time I've heard him say something along the lines of cautiously optimistic, because I don't think there's ever been any caution or tempered expectations for Chris Jones and the contract before, hearing Brett Veach now. That stood out to me in your piece of the cautiously optimistic, because I hadn't heard that qualifier before about their optimism that something was going to get done.
Yeah, and hey, could that be an indication that things are getting closer, that maybe the numbers are coming together a little bit more, maybe they're not as far apart as they were even a couple of days ago? It certainly could be a case, and I still read into it, obviously, that something has to get done because both sides need it. The Chiefs need Chris Jones. There's no doubt about that. You can look out on that practice field and see it, that they need Chris Jones. There's just no other way around it. That defense depends on him. And as good as they are in other places, if you don't have Chris Jones creating pressure in the middle of that line, everything else breaks down. It doesn't matter how good the guys on the edge are playing. It doesn't matter how good the cornerbacks are. Everything's designed to work in sync with Chris Jones on the inside, and if he's not there, this team is the worse for it. Conversely, at Chris's age, at this point in his career, if he thinks that his representation thinks that he can sit out or miss a significant portion of the season and get anywhere close to the amount of money he's being offered right now, I think they're in denial and being delusional. The worst case scenario is that he plays this year, he doesn't perform well, or he gets hurt, and the kind of money that the Chiefs are offering won't be on the table next summer or next spring. You're really just crossing your fingers that because to a degree, Chris Jones's market, absolutely 99.9% will never be better than it is right now, even with only having one suitor and one option. If in any other scenario, the only way that it would be as good as it is right now next spring is if he goes out and has the 16-sack season and is completely healthy. And what are the odds of that? They're low. So, I get betting on yourself and everything, but this is not one of those scenarios. And we haven't even talked about the salary cap and the relief that the Chiefs really need. There is no doubt both sides need a deal, and that's why I just can't imagine that it's not going to get done.
Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, is our guest. This week, Brett Veach has talked to a lot of different people. There's been a lot of different stories that have been written, all sort of different and unique in their own ways, which has been great. Why this week, do you think, for Brett Veach talking and doing the rounds with
that's just happenstance. This is the time of year every year during training camp.
Is it every year before the first preseason game, or is this a week to where they thought Chris Jones was going to be in camp at least by the first preseason game? He ain't here, and we can talk to some media members about what's going on and make sure we continue to put out to the fans, we want Chris Jones signed. We want him here. We are not going to trade him. We want him here. Yeah, a little bit surprised about him not being there. There's cautious optimism. We're in a holding pattern. Things will come to a head. The communication may not be as positive as it gets there. There's a cooling off period. It's going to have to heat up again. Is it happenstance, or is this a week where the Chiefs really thought Chris Jones would be here? They're still not having communication, so maybe let's put something out there in the media and open up those lines of communication again with the Katz brothers and get things rolling.
Well, I can't speak to the conspiracy theory of the language, but I can speak to the conspiracy theory of the timing, which is that, yes, Brett, every year, this time of year, this week, would be meeting with all of us local beat writers and everything. So, yeah, it's a clockwork thing. So it's just happenstance that it's happening. That conspiracy theory I can definitely poo-poo.
Well, I don't know. I was going to pee-pee.
I'm going to write that down for next Friday.
Put the Friday. Yeah, that's in there.
Yeah, cross those TTs and dot those IIs. Visiting with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest.
Just some grown men talking about a serious sport.
He just poo-pooing things.
I said this an hour ago. You could have put it in today's clip. So.
I might have time.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. You kidding me? What's Josh going to be doing the next hour and 20 minutes?
Here's the other thing, Matt, is we haven't gotten through all of the cuts in like 6 months, so we might not hear you say poo-poo until the Super Bowl. Which would be even funnier, I think, at that point, because we'll have completely forgotten the context.
Yeah, it would be great. And we'd look back and go, man, how right or wrong were we in that? One other thing with this, too, and then I want to talk about what you connected in your story of the rookie contracts and getting ready to have, a group of players that, are pretty good, part of this nucleus of the team that are going to get money either from the Chiefs or somewhere else. The deadline, it seems to be that it sort of changes from worries or concerns. It was like, all right, I'm not concerned that he's not going to be there at involuntary, blah, blah, blah. Mandatory minicamp? Okay, that's a little idea that, maybe they're not going as smooth. But training camp's different. He showed up to training camp, blah, 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 blah. Then he didn't show up to training camp. It's like, okay, that's a little surprise, but first week at training camp, sometimes these things get done. They didn't get done. First preseason game. Well, when the preseason games get here, I think that's where it might ramp up a little bit more, your concern level, whatever. First preseason games here. Well, by the time they break camp in St. Joe, then it might be something to where you get a little more concern. They're going to break camp. Well, when the 3 preseason games are done, then you got to really be concerned. Well, we'll see what happens. September 7th is, that's the first game of the season. When you get into like Labor Day and stuff, as Joel Corey put out this morning, that it's not even September yet. It's all good. Are we changing the feel of the deadline as the days go along to make ourselves feel better about this? That as it gets closer and closer to the season, it's like, well, realistically, what's he really missed right now? When going back to the first day of training camp was like, he did not report, and the expectation was that he's going to report. This is an issue. Now it's like, well, if he signs by September, he's fine. It's Chris Jones. He's good.
I think there is something to that. I think that once deadlines approach, I think a lot of times you find a reason to then be more worried about the next deadline and think that that's a bigger deal than the one that you just crossed.
Yeah, true.
But I think that it's also I think useful to take the big picture look and look at what we were saying a while back, and because my thought all along was that this is probably going to get done. I mean, I made my only halfway sarcastic prediction that 23 and a half hours was my over-under on after Quinn Williams deal got done, that this should get done, because there's no new information that's going to come that's going to change the market at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So the Chiefs and the Katz brothers and Jones know everything that they need to know to make a deal. So in theory, there's really nothing holding back a deal at that point. Then you're right. And then it was, okay, if it's not done by the start of training camp, you get a little more concerned. Then by the time the pads come on, a little bit more concerned. August 15th was kind of my line in the sand as far as that's the point where I would go from orange to red as far as my concern goes, because, and Andy Reid said it the other day when I asked him about, what Chris is missing by not being there. And saying, yeah, you know what, it's a fast game. You need everything. Every little bit helps. If a player, even like Chris, comes in in as good a shape as I'm sure he is, because he's always in good shape and he works on his own, but he's not working out on his own with going against Joe Thuney. He's not getting in football shape. He's in workout shape. But working on your own, there is absolutely no way you're going to be in football shape, because you're not going up against world-class football players on your own. So, you can't do that in a day. You can't do it in a week. You need time to build that up. So if you get to a point where, you're 3 weeks from playing your first game and you're not here, then I don't see how you're going to be at your best when you play that game. So to me, every day we get past really, you get past the exhibition game and you get back the next week and the team gets into training camp, that to me is the day. I mean, because if Chris Jones isn't here, every day he misses after that is just, further and further he's away from being ready to play 100% in week one.
The next marker for me will be when the Chiefs do leave St. Joe, because I think there is some element of Chris Jones and his agency, the Katz brothers, could just simply be, look, man, I ain't going to St. Joe. All right, so you guys can work this thing out, but I ain't going to be there in St. Joe. So we can hold out and have a line in the sand, and maybe they reach, look, if they get to our number, yeah, I'll be in St. Joe. But if they don't, then by that time, I ain't going to St. Joe. We can start to ramp it up and maybe get a little closer after that. I'll be in camp in KC. So I think there is still an element of whatever happens now in these conversations may not matter in the bigger picture, because Jones wasn't ever going to show up to Mo West anyway. So we'll see as the days go on. I want to talk to Matt about the connection he made in his story with Chris Jones and the other players. We'll do that. We'll have Matt weigh in on Charles Omenihu, what should be the strategy moving forward in training camp with him, and what he wants to see coming up on Sunday. We'll do that as we continue rolling along on this Friday edition. More Zone right after this.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
I've continued telling you about my friends over at Guaranteed Foods, and it's been over a month now, and we continue to be incredibly happy with the experience we've had with Guaranteed Foods, the ease of picking out the food, coming up with the entire menu, the 180-day supply of the menu, the over 600 restaurant-quality gourmet products, 100% all-natural meats and fruits and vegetables, to the convenience of preparing the food from frozen, which was a concept that I was totally unfamiliar with, total foreign concept, and that's been amazing as well. The lunches, the dinner time, which is the time we get back that we have saved, that we get back with our family. It's also the quality and customer service that sets Guaranteed Foods apart. We can go out to the garage, open up the Guaranteed Foods heavy-duty commercial food service center, look at our personal inventory on hand with a 180-day supply. Yesterday we had delivery from friend Tim stopped by, and we actually ended up having a conversation about school. He was a principal for like 30 years, and now he's working with Guaranteed Foods because it's an amazing company to work with. And, you know, they came and restocked some things. My daughter loves the grilled chicken strips. She doesn't like many foods, but she loves those to the point to where we were pretty much already out after a month. So working with Guaranteed Foods, boom, here's some more. We can exchange some things that maybe you aren't eating as much of. Look at the inventory and take care of that, get those adjustments made. All of that is done with Guaranteed Foods. It's awesome. The food blasts frozen, locks in those products' flavors, protects the juices. Give Guaranteed Foods a call, 913-888-5000. or GuaranteedFoods.com, and see the difference that they can make in your life for you and your family, and what Tom Williams and his group have done in providing the peace of mind that every product they sell is backed by the hassle-free 100% money-back guarantee on all products, even after you've eaten them. It's how confident they are that you're going to enjoy the entire experience, and you'll see, even with enjoying the experience of the food, of everything else that you can get with the convenience, the healthier food, the freshest food, safer, easier, hassle-free, temperature controlled, no fluctuations there, longer shelf life, no waste. Our refrigerator not nearly as full as it used to be with all of the leftovers, what we used to cook. It's been a life changer. Guaranteed Foods, 913-888-5000, GuaranteedFoods.com. Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime since 1958.
Trust is a big deal, especially when it comes to your health. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you're a man suffering with erectile dysfunction,
to one of the things you connected in your story, which I appreciate, Matt. I thought it was great. Should also point out that Matt Derrick, Pat's Training Camp, presented by Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, Zero Res, and Rally House. You talked to Brett Veach about the next group of players that are on rookie deals still that could have been eligible for contract extensions this offseason and then will be eligible next offseason. Certainly L'Jarius Sneed would be the biggest name there. Patrick Mahomes even mentioned L'Jarius Sneed when talking about guys getting paid. That was, a month, 2 months ago, something like that. But Brett Veach saying, that's a little bit of a challenge for us. Usually when you get the big pieces of the puzzle put away and can account for how their flows will be allotted, you're able to really work in definitives. And so I think once we can work through the Chris Jones thing and get a resolution there, then I think everything kind of falls into place for those guys. I brought this up in the previous hour, Matt, and I'll ask you. Players on the record never talk about another player's contract, essentially, especially when there's a holdout. It's just, we know how this whole thing works. We'll be fine. Next man up, blah, 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 blah. So not from a perspective or an annoyance from that, but using as an example, specifically L'Jarius Sneed, in a hypothetical of, there was a chance I was going to get extended this offseason. I've made $3 million in my career so far, and that's total. That's not take home. I've made $3 million. Dude, you've made $60 million, and I might have had $15 million in the bank right now in a signing bonus if you weren't sitting out and still trying to get your money and your money and your money. And we're getting closer to the season started, and I ain't talking with the Chiefs because there's no money there. Now, that would have to be a hypothetical in which the Chiefs were wanting to negotiate with L'Jarius Sneed to extend him. That's not something that I'm totally convinced of. But that's an element that I think we don't really mention much when the Chiefs are sitting with less than $1 million of salary cap space right now, and in a position to where Chris Jones is taking up a lot of that space and he's holding out because he wants a new deal. I don't know how often that would happen on other teams, Matt, but I do wonder if there's an element of, hey, is there a locker room issue? He's holding out, doesn't really matter. But what about players that feel like they might have a little bit more money in the bank right now with an extension if Jones would have been taken care of in June, the way Mahomes took care of Jones in July of 2020?
Yeah, and that to me is kind of the unspoken thing. And I would imagine that we probably make a bigger deal out of it on the outside than the guys do on the inside, because you're right. I mean, an NFL locker room isn't a lot different than other workplaces. I mean, guys, that's the one thing you typically don't talk about is the money. I mean, sure.
And Bruno.
And Bruno, there's guys in the room make a whole lot more money than you, and usually, I mean, hey, they make up for it because the guys that make a lot of money usually buy the other guys presents and gifts and things like that. So there's a little bit of recognition of that, but still, I mean, there's definitely different classes of people in there, but the money never gets brought up. So I'm assuming that we make a bigger deal out of it. But you're right. I mean, in that hypothetical, the Chiefs have couple of guys right now. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed and Tommy Townsend's an all-pro, just went out and got himself a new agent because he's going to be a free agent. You could negotiate with Tommy Townsend and extend him right now if you wanted to, which, by the way, they did with Harrison Butker. But none of that can happen because they have no money right now, and nothing has happened that would cause really the Chiefs to have an issue right now. Although maybe you could say there's one with the Charles Omenihu suspension, because if the Chiefs wanted to go out and sign a veteran free agent edge rusher, I don't know, Carlos Dunlap, they can't. There's no money available. They can't squeeze anybody in. I mean, we're literally the only thing that they can do right now is sign someone that is a minimum salary, period. That wouldn't bump anybody, that wouldn't, and really then, I mean, it would almost have to be like a rookie.
Could they restructure a contract right now by somebody else to free up a couple of million?
There's a few others that could.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they could dip back into Mahomes. They could, there's Joe Tooney's got some money they could move around. I mean, there's a few guys you could.
Would that be ominous? Would that be an ominous sign if they have to do that to sign somebody?
Yeah, to me it would be ominous, because if they did that, then it's an indication that, to me, that they're concerned that they're not going to be freeing any money up with Chris Jones.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's something that has to happen, but that's the short term. The long term, like you mentioned, even if the Chiefs want to have some conversations, because they can't sign like a Nick Bolton or a Creed Humphrey right now. They can January 8th. They can sign. That's the first day that they can sign those guys to extensions based on the 2021 draft class. But right now, I mean, they could talk in general terms, but Brett Veach can't really tell you, well, hey, here's how much money I can give you in years 24, 25, and 26 because I don't know what I'm paying Curtis Jones.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yep. Matt Derrick's our guest, Chiefs Digest. How interested do you think they are, the Chiefs right now, of let's say they took care of Chris Jones and that thing got done and everybody was happy. They sung, Kumbaya, and before training camp that all was resolved. Would they have gone down the road of a L'Jarius Sneed, or, which I'm not convinced they would have, but asking your opinion on it, or a Willie Gay, or a Tommy Townsend, or something like that, or a Mike Dana? It is going into year 4 of their contract. Is that something you think they're going to be doing more of because of this draft class, or the last couple of draft classes, I should say? Because next year it's Bolton and Creed and Smith, and then year after that you're talking about McDuffie and Karlaftis and et cetera, et cetera. Or do the Chiefs continue to go the route of we've been drafting well, so let's keep drafting well, and we don't have to give big second contracts to these players because we're continuing to recycle with some really good draft picks because, quite frankly, they don't give big second contracts to draft picks in Andy Reid's time with the Chiefs.
Yeah, that was actually the starting off point from my conversation with Brett because, I remember talking to him a couple of years ago about, the fact that, hey, the perception is that you don't put resources into the cornerback position and the secondary position because you never draft those guys high. You never put any money in free agency. And of course, he's like, well, you know what? It's just been a matter of circumstance. It's just been the guys maybe haven't been there we wanted. Maybe we couldn't get deals with some free agents that we wanted. We're willing to pay. We're willing to draft some guys, but there needs to be players at those spots that we want. Well, now we've seen you put resources into that position. And that was my question this time: is that because the only guy that they've given an extension to in the extension window was Patrick Mahomes, since Brett Veach has been GM. Chris Jones, remember, was outside that because he was the franchise tag. So
does Tyreek Hill count? Because that was going into year 4. They signed him.
Tyreek was the next best, because you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at the beginning.
2 days right before the season started. So it was a Friday before they played that Jags game, week number 1.
Yeah, I mean that's the next closest that you get, as far as that goes. So it's really only those 3 guys that have been signed to, or that at least takes one period that was a contract that they gave to somebody, a multi-year deal beyond their first 4 years.
Yeah,
they've had some other guys like DeMarcus Robinson, that came back on 1-year deals. Derek Nottie, 1-year deals. But you're right. I mean, other than that, they haven't. And and asking Brett about that, one thing he pointed to was obviously on the defensive side. Because when they changed coordinators, they changed the scheme. And that meant that a lot of guys that they drafted were maybe for Bob Sutton's scheme and Bob Sutton's approach. So now they're going a whole different direction. So those rookies that were drafted, were drafted for a different defense, so you're probably not signing them. Offensively, I mean, they had some misses too. And defensively, they had some misses. But now you're getting into a couple of drafts where they've had some really strong success. And I certainly got, as far as talking specifically about the guys they have now versus next year, I mean, Brett was pretty specific that next year is where they're really wanting to hit it hard. Hey, is that a little bit of maybe being concerned about L'Jarius' injury history? Possibly. Willie Gay, when Brett was talking about the guys that they want to sign, I mean, he was talking about guys that have played a lot of snaps for them. Well, Willie Gay has been a guy that also has had some difficulty staying on the field. So, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, and he mentioned it specifically with Bolton, Creed, and Humphrey, and so Smith. That's the trio that they really want to make sure that they're able to jump on next year and keep. And so I think next year they're absolutely going to be active trying to sign those guys.
Well, I went back in the Andy Reid era, just overall, so including the Brett Veach, but also Dorsey, going back to 2013. So everybody drafted from 2013 on, and that goes to the 2019 draft class, because the 2020 draft class, their 4th year hasn't started yet. September 7th, it will. And they drafted 50 players in that time, and only 6 of those players got a multi-year contract after their rookie deal. Eric Fisher, Travis Kelce, LDT, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes. And Tyreek was just a couple of days before his 4th year started. Those were the only ones that got the extension. 5 of the 6 got that extension before that 4th year. The only one that didn't was Chris Jones. Those other 5 are offensive players. Chris Jones is a defensive player. I don't know if that's the connection there, where maybe, Brett Veach is talking about, well, the defensive side, they've done a lot of drafting over there. But Fisher, Kelsey, LDT, Tyreek, and Mahomes signed before their 4th year, offensive guys. Chris Jones signed after his contract expired, franchise tag, but they still gave him a long-term deal. The history has been, if the Chiefs sign you to a multi-year deal after your contract is over, rookie contract, they do it before your last year of your rookie deal.
They exactly, they do it. And I mean, I think you can circle a couple of categories here. One is that you've got to be somebody who's played a lot of snaps. All of those guys did. I mean, really the only person who didn't, okay, Mahomes didn't play his rookie year. Well, okay.
Right, yeah.
He made up for that.
Yes.
Kelsey was injured his rookie year. Well, he pretty much proved after that he was an Iron Man. So, injury history, I think, is a huge factor in determining whether or not they're going to give a player a second contract.
That's a good point. Yeah.
There's nobody that hasn't. So, I think if you're a guy who's missed some games and they're worried about you being able to stay on the field, whether it's for injury or other matters, that probably puts you into another category.
This last year, McColl, Thornhill, Saunders, and Fenton, were guys that could have been extended before their 4th year. Not specifically this offseason. This is the latest draft class that is now walking after their rookie contract is up. Those 4 guys were guys that maybe could have signed multi-year deals or even 1-year deals after it was over. Allegretti signed the 1-year deal in that draft class. But, when you talk about guys, Thornhill's had his injuries, certainly the ACL, that sucked. But McColl's been often injured. Colin Saunders battled injuries the first couple of years, and Fenton was already traded. So, they ended up trading him. So it's interesting. They've walked on a number of guys. Marcus Peters, Mitch Morse, Conley, Steven Nelson, K-Pass, D. Ford. There's been a lot of guys that they could have signed to a longer-term deals that were bigger players on teams that they didn't do that. Kareem Hunt would have been a fascinating one to see what they would have done if he continued his career at the level that it was from that 2017 draft class. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll see what Matt wants to see on Sunday, what he'll be watching for in the game against the Saints. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
Relax.
Okay.
Come on. Really. Relax. Is that a little bit difficult for you? Oh, I have a suggestion. Let me tell you about Greenlight Dispensary. They got 4 KC area locations, one at 135th and State Line, one in Bannister, in Independence, and in Harrisonville. They've been voted Missouri's best dispensary numerous times by the people of Missouri, and they're about cannabis with culture. They also have the highest quality standards from seed to sale. We got to tour their what I call the plant because it's where the plants are, it's a plant for growing the plants. You get it. And we got to see everything from literally the seed all the way through their final product. So I've seen the care and the quality that goes into every single thing you'll get from Greenlight. It really is incredible. We did a video on that a while back. It's on some of the 810 socials. Really cool to get to see how all of that happens. They always have great inventory and a huge variety. They have their own products, that are Greenlight dispensaries. They also have a great selection of all sorts of other brands in Missouri that you can purchase at Greenlight Dispensary locations. You can go inside and browse in person, ask the bud tenders what's right for you, or you can hop online, greenlightdispensary.com, where you can order online, at the very least, browse the menu and see what you're getting there. You can order online for pickup via either the drive-through window or the grab-and-go window, which is crazy easy, crazy convenient, and all that information you need to put in and all that you handle online. It just streamlines the whole process. It's really, really cool, and Greenlight, I know, at every step has the most care from the entire process all the way to the bud tenders who can answer your questions if you need to know what's right for you. That's all at Greenlight Dispensary. Check them out online at greenlightdispensary.com.
The second you walk through those iconic red doors,
All right, hanging out with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest. All right, Matt, what are you looking for on Sunday noon against the Saints? Anything you're watching for in this preseason game number 1? Matt. Is Matt there?
Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest.
Well, Jason, what I'm looking for is
Twitter,
just see them go out there. I don't want any injuries. That's the first thing. There's no injuries, certainly. And, everything that you have said, Jason, I totally agree with. I couldn't have said it better myself. You might be the smartest individual I've ever heard in my life.
Now, weirdly, Matt, Jason was doing a me impression just there.
No, that was a Matt Derrick impression.
Here's what happens sometimes.
Okay.
So, I try to be polite, thinking, it's a break. I'm going to check some things on my phone. So I hit the mute button.
Nice.
Yes.
And then you just forget to hit the mute button when you come back. So that was me being an idiot. For those of you scoring at home.
Putting it on mute
or for those of you who are alone.
It's typically the best way to listen to us. What are you looking for? What are you watching on Sunday?
I am. We'll see how much the first team offense really plays, but I do want to see Mahomes connect with a couple of the receivers, just see how the timing really is when there's an actual opponent. They don't need to go down and score in 6 plays or anything like that, but if they could, that'd be pretty cool. I want to see how the new tackles hold up against actual competition. Everything in training camp has looked fine to me. But I really want to see, with Donovan Smith and Juwan Taylor, I want to see them, how they look in actual game action. The rookies and young guys all around. I mean, there's a lot of young players that we just haven't seen. Justin Ross, highly among them. Deneric Prince, another big one. You want to see them when there's the fear of actually getting hit. What's going to happen? Deneric Prince, you want to make sure he's, secure in the kick return game because that's where he can make this team. Justin Ross, for all the highlights, there have been some handle problems in training camp when he's not going to get hit, and he had a really bad drop today. Whew, that was a bad one.
Interesting.
I want to see him out. I need to see him secure the football. I need to make sure that he can take a hit and pop back up, and that's going to be true for a lot of guys. I mean, a guy like Echo Boydo, undrafted cornerback from Kansas State. Dave Tope mentioned this. I mean, the guy's 177 pounds. They want to see if he can hold up to it. I mean, how many times have we seen a guy who was a darling in training camp and then the pads come on the preseason and they shrink up? I mean, that's what you're going to see with some of these guys you haven't seen before. And let's see with Dave Tope's special teams. There's going to be a lot of veterans out there, but young guys are going to have to get snaps out there too. And you want to see how those young guys hold up.
Just as a point of reference, there have been zero fair catches on a kickoff so far in the preseason, which makes sense. I do want to point out that Matt Derrick now will be officially fined for offering anything but unbridled praise for Justin Ross.
Yeah, that really, I almost walked out.
I think that comes from the Chiefs front office.
If you drop a 50-yard bomb from Mahomes when there's not a defender within 10 yards of you, that's a bad drop.
And the fine continues to escalate. So, wow.
That's $100,000 now, Matt. That's 2 for you.
That's 2 days of Chris Jones being there. That's a bigger hit to your wallet than Chris Jones, I think.
Do I still get my workout bonus?
Were you there before Dave Tope today?
Yes, nobody. I'm rarely here before Dave Tope. Dave Tope is the family tent drinking before I get there.
Whoa, Dave Tope's drinking in the family tent. Coffee.
What's in the coffee, though?
Coffee beans.
Oh, okay. Let's punt this segment.
All month long, get hog wild at Zarda Barbecue. Finley.
The Zone is brought to you by Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
We got a barn burner in the Little League World Series.
Oh, yeah?
Midwest Region Championship.
Whoa, the World Series yet.
North Dakota and South Dakota.
It's the regional series.
4-4 in the bottom of the third. Now, this is a rematch of what took place a couple of days ago because I believe South Dakota beat North Dakota, and then North Dakota worked their way back, or it might have been North Dakota beating South Dakota. One of these teams won against the other a couple of days ago, and now this is the championship, and North Dakota scored 4 in the top of the first. It's now 4-4, so I mean, this is a game going on.
Rafe Norenberg. Never has there been more of a South Dakota name than that.
Rafe Norenberg?
His favorite actor is Tom Cruise. He's an old soul.
That's what I was thinking. That's a hell of a called shot.
It's I mean, is he old enough to even watch the Tom Cruise movies? Like, what Tom Cruise movie is he watching? These 12-year-olds. What are their parents doing?
Mission Impossible just came out.
Yeah, is that PG-13? Is that R? Like, even if it's
12.
PG-13, he's 12.
Really? You're that parent? Great. Wish you were my dad. But, by the way, everybody talks, go play Little League. Little League's not played around here much at all.
That's one thing I have an issue with the Little League World Series. Yeah, Little League World Series is around here. We'll never actually have a quote Little League team
Webb
playing.
City had one.
Oh, really?
Webb City about 10, 15 years ago.
Little League?
Had a Little League World Series team, and of course Webb City, they're great at everything.
We just need to get a TV partner for USSSA.
Yes, and the bases and the walls, everything is so different. The distance from the mound. My son, when he was 12, was on this travel all-star thing. They got to go to big deal. They got
that way you saw that bumper sticker.
Florida.
My son is on a high school travel thing.
My son can throw faster than your son.
Yes. Well,
my son can pick your son off.
This part's not going to help me out. They were down there at the Wide World of Sports in Orlando, and they were eating. And they were eating after a game they had played. And they're watching the Little League World Series, and they're going nuts because the bases are like 50 feet. They're really short. The mound is really close.
I mean,
they're like, these guys are playing in baby stadiums.
The wall's like 120.
Yeah, it's not much.
It feels like it's
not
Yankee
much.
Stadium essentially is
like,
what they
we
play
would kill
in.
these guys. I'm like, oh, maybe you would. You're just a different entity. We latched on to Little League and not USSSA, which I'm sure USSSA is much newer than Little League, but yeah, it's very different specifications.
The problem is USSSA right now is like the Pac-12. They can't find a TV partner.
They can't.
So it's just like, Apple, where are you at? Come on. You've seen what ESPN has done with the Little League World Series. Let's go, Apple.
Babe
Let's
Ruth
get some...
still around? Is that still Babe Ruth still a league?
I don't think he's still with us.
I just grew up at 3-2. That's where I played. Whether that was USA
that's
or
not,
USSSA, it was just 3-2. I know.
Yeah.
That's all. I don't even know what leagues. I just knew it wasn't Little League. Just like, where do you play? 3-2. 3-2 Kansas City. Now 3-2 West. 3-2 Johnson County with the kids.
My kids never came close to playing Pop Warner football. No, it was a different organization.
Yeah, I think I may have played Pop Warner football at the time. You were talking about great names there. I want to carry on the conversation we had on Wednesday. Have you seen the stat from Jason Stark and Shohei Ohtani?
No.
So
they came together and made a stat?
They did. Yeah,
Okay.
It's called pitcher intentionally walked. I don't know. But Shohei Ohtani got intentionally walked the other day as a pitcher. He's now been intentionally walked 4 times this year in games that he's pitching. So Jason Stark was like, okay, well, here's the question. What other pitcher has ever done that? And he goes, well, intentional walks only became an official stat in 1955. So in the nearly 7 decades since, no pitcher has ever been intentionally walked 4 times in their career, let alone a season. But he goes back and says, how many other pitchers have been intentionally walked more than once? Babe Ruth did it in 1919.
I thought they weren't keeping that stat there.
He said, this is highly unofficial. He says, Baseball Reference provides the distinguished list of pitchers who have been unintentionally walked, but maybe that's the unintentional versus intentional. But regardless, says even unofficially, looking back, piling up the different box scores, checking on them unofficially, Babe Ruth had one in 1919. Chad Kimsey in 1931, and...
There's somebody named Chad Kimsey in 31?
Schoolboy Roy.
There we
Yes.
go.
In 1947, Schoolboy Roy got intentionally walked twice.
And he was a pitcher.
In a season. Schoolboy Roy and Shohei Ohtani. So I saw that, and I'm like, of course, we've got to give out the Schoolboy Roy name.
I did find some disagreement, by the way, on that quote that Chris Jones tweeted out, but from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Not definitely attributed to him. I am seeing Tungsten Armo Doyle a few times. It may have been his quote.
Oh, okay. That makes total sense.
I'm on Wikipedia.
Actually, you know what? It was Winston Churchill.
It definitely could have been.
It was obviously Winston Churchill. Benjamin Franklin, Winston Churchill, and Lincoln. The only people that ever had any quotes.
No one else has said anything
Nobody
noteworthy.
talked. Well, they did. They just said dumb stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Nothing that people were like, you know what? Let me remember this. You know, I only regret that I have but one life to give to my country of the United States. Winston Churchill.
A crazy thing for him to say at the time.
That
but,
was
you know,
odd.
Really made him a fan favorite over here.
That's right. I mean, if it wasn't for that damned revolution, like we'd have a whole lot more love for Winston Churchill. Thanks a lot, Mel Gibson.
thanks
you
for
know,
that.
I mean,
We got over it. They were on our side for a couple big wars.
they joined. They came over to the right side.
They came around.
That's right. Yeah,
We've been friends ever since.
In fact, we've even cared about their monarchy.
Yeah,
you know?
we make fun of the French together.
Yeah, we even had
We care
big
way
news.
too much about their monarchy.
Yeah, we even had news and days where we just talked about somebody in their monarchy dying.
We
And
named
paid a
our
lot of attention
baseball
to it.
team in this city after their monarchy.
Wow.
By the way,
So true. The Royals.
That's what I'm saying.
By the way,
And the
every
Chiefs.
And the Monarchs.
Every
Wow.
night we have.
did it twice.
Whenever I post the Royals score to the internet, we have a contract with AP Images, so I always have to attach a picture. So I'll go and search in AP Images Royals, and half the time I will get Kansas City versus Boston. The other half will be like, what's
Lord?
Yeah, what is it, the Prince, the Duchess,
Prince
of the
William
Duke,
wearing
the
high red
Wales
stockings.
stuff. Yes.
Would you get Lord, the singer that did Royal?
Oh yeah,
No,
that
I don't
too.
get her. I get the actual
darn it.
like.
Come on. That'd
What
be
they're
cool,
doing
though.
over there.
That'd have been cool. Not all of them though were named out. Like the Kansas City Kings, clearly not anything to do
unrelated.
with
That's right.
anything of royalty whatsoever. So
Named after LeBron.
that's exactly right.
There's the arena team that they just announced named after Jordan. The Goats.
The Goats.
The Goats. I was just I don't even believe that. I was just needling Jason.
But that's not the G.O. That's just like, oh, the GOAT.
I think it's a little play on words, but I don't know, man.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Speaking of texts that come in and have fun with us talking about LeBron and Jordan, we always get a text that says Kobe's better. Did you see the Mamba program that they just Vanessa Bryant has they are coming up with a Mamba program for individual teams. So like Jordan Brand, like North Carolina, Michigan, wearing the actual Jordan brand, Nike has teamed up with the Mamba Mentality programs, those that are Nike. The first one named a Mamba team is Kentucky. So Kentucky will have specific Mamba jerseys, and they will personalize Kobe Bryant Nike shoes for Kentucky players with the Mamba logos on them.
What is the Mamba logo? Is it of him?
It's no. What is that?
It's not. Is it like the Jumpman?
It's not the Jumpman. No, it is.
It's like but it's hard
it's
to
all
explain.
black and it's like
triangular kind of foot. Actually, that might. I'm just gonna Google it and show you a picture, Mick. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, this is the.
Okay, I've seen that.
Yeah, this little like three pronged sort of. I guess it's probably supposed to look like a snake head.
Yeah, it looks kind of
with
part
fangs.
like part of an anatomy.
It kind of looks like Cobra Kai, a little bit. But yeah, so thought that was interesting. As you know, some things that Nike does for their programs that are a little bit different. That I know that some programs were given Yeezys to wear, but that was kind of it for like Adidas.
Yeah.
Like Adidas needs to get on this. Like
Well,
some
so
of these things.
the
like
why KU's with Adidas and a lot of schools, the Adidas schools stay with them, is that supposedly when you're Nike, you get T-shirt and shorts, right? You get your shoes, and that's it. The Adidas, these guys have an entire closet full of Adidas stuff. Their entire wardrobe is Three Stripe Life. They are getting stuff for their family members for Christmas, right? Their entire family is decked out. So that's one of the big reasons why they're like, okay, We don't have the cachet maybe as
Right.
like Nike, but we got a lot of this stuff. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I do wonder, like, this is one of like 4 or 5 different programs they're going to be connected with.
Now, I'm sure the
Mamba
Kentucky
mentality, so-
basketball players, right, get whatever they want.
They're probably, yes.
I'm talking more about like, okay, the Nike school, Toledo rowing is
Yes.
the Nike school. Okay, yeah, here's your T-shirt and your shorts.
Looking up, is
Yes.
Toledo rowing a Nike school? Toledo Nike school. Nope, they are actually British Knights. Speaking of the monarchy,
They're LA gear.
They're LA
LA
gear.
gear.
Dang it, man. What are the Reebok? Actually, not that bad.
They're the
anymore,
first
so-
dude school. That's what I want. First dude school.
You know, it's
That's
just
got to
tough.
be like disc golf or something.
It's gonna be Southern California, right? Like what's his name? Just the no hitter.
The
where's
Vans.
the Vans? Where's the Vans?
Vans.
Right? That's such a Southern California where like we're gonna play baseball and dudes. Just I mean we won't be that much different, right? We'll be fine.
Toledo is Nike.
I knew it.
Except their rowing program is Adidas. That's weird. It's the only one that they did. Yes. So there we go. So yeah, they've Nike branded Toledo. So we got to the end of that. So
You're welcome, America.
we figured all those things out. And Mick, it's still 9 days in the month of August without football on TV.
Every day is gonna be 9 days away, like even tomorrow.
As of I think Tuesday, then will be or Wednesday will be 8 days because there are games until Monday, and then no games Tuesday, Wednesday next week. We're talking about how many days left in the month of August with no football game on our TV. And there are only 9 games left in the month of August.
Oh,
because
you weren't saying
college football,
9 days until something starts. They're just
9
here and there.
total days.
3 here.
It's like
4
Tuesday,
there, 2
Wednesday
there.
next
Gotcha.
week.
Yeah.
A Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that.
So my
because-
joke really didn't make sense.
No, you're good. Well, it might have made sense because somebody would have been like, well, I don't know, is every day just going to be? No. Because week 0 is August 26th for college football. And then you get into the, you get games on like Wednesday night and get games
Yeah.
Thursday night and Friday night.
I liked watching that West Coast game. It was a little bit later last night.
Yeah.
I learned that the Seahawks, a little
Are a
bonus
bird?
on funniest best. I learned that they also have a Kobe Bryant on their defense.
I heard that last night. Kobe
and a
Bryant
Michael
comes up and makes
Jackson.
it. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And then, but
Nice.
KU, one of their top players defensively in the Big 12, is a Kobe Bryant who plays cornerback for KU. He's C-O-B-E-E.
C-O-B-E-E. That's right.
Yeah. C-O-B-E-E. Apropos of absolutely nothing that we were talking about, but there was a TikTok of a guy that does a Michael Jackson impression that's really good, and he's playing tennis as Michael Jackson, just
I've
doing
seen that. I've
and he's
seen it. Yes.
Shamo. He's swinging.
He's really good at
Oh,
tennis.
it's amazing. Swinging and doing the different dances while he's doing it. It's brilliant. 50 seconds on it. That's what the internet was made for, quite frankly. That's what it should be about, is just those things, watching somebody do an amazing Michael Jackson impression playing tennis. That's what it's all about. So, yeah, we'll
I
see.
can't hear it, but it's incredibly impressive on
Look at
mute.
it, man.
Yeah.
Yes. Not just imagine every time he swings, he's like, Shamo.
The moonwalking behind the back line to just return a little is great. I'll do play-by-play. Moonwalk, backhand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, he touched his hat.
It's very good. Very, very good. Mick, what are you watching for on Sunday? What are you wanting to see on Sunday? Huh? What are you going to ask me about on Sunday Sound Off Sunday night so I can prepare to see what I'm going to watch?
There's no injuries, and I think Jason Anderson said it all right. He's like the smartest guy I've ever heard.
This is the second time somebody on our guest has said that today. That's so weird.
Man, yeah, I actually started listening to the show today. And,
but after the no injuries.
Sure, yes.
That's always prefaced. I didn't preface it that time. That's my fault.
You're right. Last year we did a much better job of.
Yeah.
You don't want to see any injuries. You hate to see that. No one's rooting for injuries. We're all rooting against injuries.
Yep.
Hope everybody comes out healthy.
Outside of no injuries, what
I'm
are you
going to
thinking?
root for some like small injuries to give some guys some rest, right? That's going to help them build back up their strength for the regular season.
Large contusion in the
Just a lot of contusions. They're bruises. They're
wrist
going to go
area.
away soon enough.
forearm contusion. Going to miss a few days.
Sure.
You know,
that's
just
not going to hurt anybody. I'm going to have one of those today at some point. You know, I'm going to bruise myself.
think you
Right?
get a forearm
Everything's going to be fine. I think the tackles are a good answer, an easy answer. How about Blaine Gabbert? I really think the Chiefs upgraded at backup quarterback, and I liked Chad Henne. I thought he was a great backup quarterback. I think Blaine Gabbert is perfect for this role. If, God forbid, he has to come in and start a couple games, I think he can come in and excel and win a couple games. I really do. You forget how large of a human this guy is. I've been to camp several times, and he's a big athletic man still, and he's a guy that has been around an NFL playbook for over a decade now. He knows his role, right? There's no, delusions of grandeur, if that's even the term. There's no, like, him wanting to be the starter, right? It's a perfect – I think that he is quite literally maybe the best backup quarterback option for the Chiefs right now. I want him to validate that for me. I want him to go out there and look really, really good. So I'll be watching for that.
I'll be watching for bucket hats on the sideline for the Chiefs after they're done playing.
That's important. Sean Payton thought that was very important.
Sunglasses. It's a noon game. Although it's in a dome. But noon. If there are sunglasses or anything there, Sean Payton's had to deal with that before.
The Broncos are playing in a dome at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and he's still drawing that line. So I think you just got to go ahead and take your stance.
I missed this one.
Sean Payton, he has instituted rules for his players during the preseason that he does not want to see after they are done playing or during the game. He does not want to see uniforms off after you're done playing. It's confusing because it just says uniforms off after you're done playing. So he doesn't want to see that uniforms are not off or are off.
That one was confusing to me.
Has something to do with uniforms, whether he wants them on or off when you're out of the game. No sunglasses, no interviews during the game, and no Gilligan hats.
Those are bucket hats?
Which apparently is a term Sean Payton uses for bucket hats.
See, Sean Payton...
Specifically saying Gilligan hats.
World championship winner, grizzled coaching veteran Sean Payton has seemingly turned into, like, rookie coach.
That's
Sean
exactly
Payton.
Isn't that a rookie coach feel?
Well, and the same with calling out another coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just all these things you don't do, even if you believe it. You don't do that crap. And then it's all of a sudden it's kind of like the I had forgotten how Kevin Sumlin did not let Johnny Manziel talk until like the very end of the season.
So you watched the documentary. Josh, you watched it?
I haven't watched it.
Well, you're an idiot. So we're gonna talk about it. So I don't care if there's a spoiler.
That's fine. You can spoil it. I remember watching Johnny Manziel.
That seemed like a very look. I get it. I'm all for discipline. I'm all for you gotta find ways to make sure these guys know you mean business. They stay in line, right? They don't feel like it's inmates running the asylum. All that stuff. There's just some little things, right? That's like as you grow older, like, okay, really, what does, hair below the ears, right? What does that do really for you, right? Does that really? I mean, does that really mean that maybe it's a bad kid or a kid that doesn't want to give his all, or like the same deal with we're not doing interviews here, like. It's your own people doing it, and your guy's going to play 5 plays, and this is better for your broadcast, which is going to bring in more eyes and more viewers and more money to your team and stuff like that.
And I feel like it can be like your view of this can be painted by whatever team you may cover or root for and the success thereof and the coaching staff. Like, to me, this seems like pretty mundane stuff to be worrying about when you're trying to go through the season. Like, I highly doubt Andy Reid would care. Like, that person's wearing sunglasses. Fine him. Gilligan hat. Oh, Mahomes is doing an interview and he's out of the game? No, that's not happening. Like, he wants people to have their personalities. And it's like, well, he's winning doing that. Flip side is, Belichick won a lot of games with the, no, you will fall in line. It is the Patriot way, and you'll do this, do that, do that. So when Belichick was winning a lot of games, there was you'd better be doing, if you're late for a practice, you get this, or you might be cut if you do. Doesn't matter if you got in a car accident, you better find a way to get there. Andy Reid's maybe the best coach in the NFL, and it's like, well, let your personality show.
Although, look at their disciples. Look at their disciples, though. Every Belichick assistant has failed. Most Andy Reid assistants have had pretty good success.
But it's funny. I mean, Andy's got his structure because think about it. I mean, how quickly we knew about, a little bit about the players concerned with EB, maybe in their eyes a little too hard on him, right? A little too much of an AH, right? And maybe some of the casual Chiefs fans knew a little bit about it, but it was not a big storyline. The biggest storyline is, okay, why is he not getting a head coaching job? How quickly did it take for that to come out and just blow up in Washington, where Ron Rivera, Andy Reid disciple, kind of let that get out of his own mouth.
And then, as he said, put his foot in his mouth.
He put his foot in his mouth.
His words came out and his foot went in.
What has Tyreek Hill done ever since he left Kansas City? Put his foot in his mouth. Say stuff that doesn't make sense. Talk stuff, right? Where he was not doing that.
But it had to be said.
City. It had to be said. It did. At least, 4 times now? Did they brought that? They brought it back, right?
I don't know. I mean, have they had more?
Episode? I think they had.
Has there been more things that have needed to be said, or was it just for a few weeks?
Andy's great at keeping it
striking
it's
now
the
on
balance.
Snapchat, apparently.
Striking the balance between keeping things under wraps, but also letting guys show their personalities. I would just be curious to say, okay, what are the major tenets here? What are the major ground rules here of an Andy Reid team to where you keep everything so close to the vest, and all this stuff that does happen with every team on the field in the locker room doesn't get out because he's a master at it.
We talked to Brandon Flowers in Miami before the 2019 season Super Bowl, but February 2020.
Lead singer of the Killers?
That's right. He was there.
Good pull, Mick.
But also sitting down with him was the former cornerback of the Chiefs and Chargers and Brandon Flowers. Now, we talked to the Killers about his time with Andy Reid. We talked to Brandon Flowers of the cornerback about touring.
Yeah.
With bands. It was weird.
Both really excited about the Raiders going to Vegas.
It's crazy. But one of the things he said when we were talking about, difference between Andy Reid and others, like so many people are rooting for Andy Reid. You played for multiple coaches in your time. So you played for, Herm, Haley, Romeo, and Andy Reid, Brandon Flowers played for? You got your lay of the land. You got a real idea of what coaches were like. And one of the things he talked about was Andy Reid sort of letting the players be themselves. And the story he told was fascinating, that he said he had a pair of grills. Right. And people used to say, smile for me, Brandon. He'd be like, what you looking at? And they say, let me see your grills. He said, what? So he had a pair of grills that he would wear. And you were not wearing those anywhere near the facility with Todd Haley.
That makes sense.
Andy Reid got there and told Brandon Flowers if he wasn't wearing his grills in practice, he was going to get fined.
That's awesome.
Saying, no, I want you to, that's you. That's your personality. If you want to wear grills in practice, frickin' put grills on. If it makes you a better player, I don't give a bleep.
Yeah.
Think I'm going to care about that? No, go do what you got to do. And Brandon Flowers was like, whoa, this guy's won a ton of games. Haley was a rookie coach and was like, don't do this, don't do that. I'm going to be this. I'm a hard ass. I'm going to show you guys how tough I am. And Andy Reid's like, man, put your damn grills in, dude. Let's have some fun out here.
I feel like
but
that's
make sure
the
you're doing
trade-off.
what you're supposed to do.
I feel like that's the trade-off. Like, you can be yourself. You can be your personality, whatever. Here's the deal. You don't run down your teammates. You don't talk trash on opponents. Right?
You work your ass off during practice.
Yeah, there's all that, and then you don't let any of our business out, right? You know, I mean that's it, and I'm sure that's a great trade off for these guys. We're like, okay, I can wear what I want, I can kind of say what I want as long as I'm a good teammate. Okay, let's do that. And for the most part, that works
and it
out.
might be easier to be a good teammate if you're just like, okay, I feel like I can be myself, and I can. Okay, great.
Well,
let's
then
do that.
and then also, Brandon Flowers later said somebody told him that he had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend that he had back in February
of last year.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe, Drake, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, hanging out with us. So you didn't see the Johnny Manziel documentary, Josh? It's your fault.
Yeah, that's fine. You
Go to the
spoil it.
restroom.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Can you give me a pop?
Yeah, sure. What kind? Matter? Is anything?
Coke.
Sure.
Yeah, sounds good. One of the things that I did not spoil on Wednesday when we were talking about it that I thought was interesting was the Cliff Kingsbury clip of him talking about Manziel and like
Kingsbury was just open about everything.
Yeah, about just essentially, we're not suspending this guy. It's frickin' Johnny Manziel. All right. Oh, he's not going to practice. He's not studying film. He's not doing. He's Johnny Manziel. He's playing.
He was drunk that morning. I was like, you better play well. Played one of the best games of his life.
That's
So
right.
Like, all right.
Showed up drunk and hungover, and it's like, well, you better play well. Not that you're going to get suspended, not that you're in trouble or anything. And even his dad was like, should have been more disciplined for him. And I thought it was
his dad. A couple comments. He said, "Well, you expect these coaches and these leaders and everything
Turn
take
your
care of
boy
your kid
into a
like
man."
Wait, are you the parent complaining about how the kid was parented and all this? And like,
I thought that was it.
Shifting some blame there.
Totally shifting some blame, but he was blaming a lot of it on A&M for not having more discipline and not suspending him and holding him accountable. And even his mom she was like, well, there was just no accountability. And
I don't
you're
think
also the parent
too. That's the guy. He didn't love football enough to where that's the guy. I don't think a suspension is going to do anything to him.
And that's the interesting spot to be in is he didn't love football. He didn't study film. He didn't worry about the playbook. When he was away from playing football, he was just partying at Texas A&M. Obviously, in Cleveland, he watched 0.0 hours of a film on his iPad or whatever it was. The guy played football because it was sort of fun for him, but it wasn't his whole life. His whole life was essentially being Johnny Football, being the embodiment, the living, breathing embodiment of Johnny Football. So I thought the Cliff Kingsbury thing was pretty candid of, well, no, we're playing him. We're not going to suspend. It's Johnny Manziel. We're not going to suspend him. You kidding me? Like, there's no way Cliff Kingsbury would have said that as the offensive coordinator, or maybe if he was even still a college coach, he wouldn't be interviewed and saying, we're going to play him.
Right.
He's an awesome quarterback. Are you kidding me?
And I think, too, with NIL now, that frees up a lot of this dialogue.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, the NIL, because he talked about when it's sort of a turning point for him was all of the money that A&M was bringing in with the number 2 jerseys that they were bringing in with his autographed footballs. And he's like, you know what? Bleep you. Here's a big middle finger. I'm going to get my money. Bleep you. I mean, all of that stuff. But it's like he didn't love the game outside of playing the game on the field, which he clearly enjoyed and loved doing. But it wasn't his life, which is, by the way, why some football teams aren't big fans of players coming out of college that have other interests.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Conley was knocked because he wanted to make movies in his spare time. And it's like, ooh, he's got a hobby. I don't know how much we want this Chris Conley dude. Well, he's pretty good. Yeah, but he's got a hobby. So he's well-rounded. Yes, that means he's not living, eating, breathing football. That's a problem for us.
You hear Andy say it all the time about guys they bring in. What does he always say? He's like, he loves the game. They just love the game, which you would think would be inherent. Right? And necessary and something everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
But to the level the NFL wants it, not everybody has it.
When did Cliff Kingsbury, did you have a feel for when he did the interview? Because he is back at USC now. So he did go back to college coaching again.
When did he get rehired at USC?
April.
Yeah, I mean,
So that was probably filmed before that, right?
These interviews
that just kind of, because you said that, I'm like,
it looked like it was at his fat house.
Yes.
That would be a crazy thing to say, and then to be like, and I should be in charge of your son too soon, ma'am. This is how I'll handle him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's back at USC.
But here's the thing, Kevin Sumlin was a part of that too.
Yeah.
Kevin Sumlin was a part of the decision making of, it's Johnny Manziel. We're freaking playing Johnny Manziel. I don't care that he was out drinking last night. I don't care that he missed curfew. I don't care that he's not going to class. I don't care that the backup quarterback is peeing for him. I don't care about any of those things. I don't care that he was failing drug tests. No, he passed every single one of them. And wink, wink, we don't give a bleep who was peeing for him. He's Johnny Football. And he's going to play because it's our first year in the SEC or coming off the first year in the SEC. We're raising more money than ever. We're selling out. We're about to tear down Kyle Field and build a new thing. We're about to do all of this stuff. He ain't sitting because he may have smoked some marijuana. Not happening. Rafa. That was an interesting part of it. Also, something that came out late Wednesday or yesterday, the Phil Mickelson story that's coming out with the gambling and potentially betting on the 2012 Ryder Cup.
What's he betting his career, Jason? Like $1 million?
$1 billion.
Like $1 million. I mean, that's a lot of money for a lot of people. $1 million.
It was just estimated that he's bet $1 billion over
see that.
3 decades or so.
B.
Yeah.
With a B.
He's lost $100 million in gambling and
billion.
Which, I mean, if you're betting $1 billion,
only losing $100 million.
I mean,
not so bad.
It's not bad.
I'll bet $100 over the course of a year if I lose 10 of it.
Is he saying he lost $100 million like he's down 100 overall, or just hey, when I was betting with him, there was bets where he's probably lost over $100 million. But what about bets he won?
I doubt he personally is keeping track.
We're not mentioning those things, you know.
I bet he's lost $100 million. I bet that was the read of it that I had from the
and
Buck
actually, it's probably the math checks out on that. Most people, if you bet that's what bet $10, you're going to end up down $1. Right. If you make a lot of bets up to 10, you're going to end up down $1.
5 and 4 ain't helping you.
Yeah,
typically
the zeros are the problem. Unless that changes the scale.
Unless one of yours is a big parlay. Like the guy with the BetMGM at the World Cup that they ended up taking the winnings back because he bet $3,000 on 3 different parlays and hit all of them at plus 6,600 for like $250,000, and it went into his account, and he and his wife were already talking about what they're going to do and paying off student loans and doing this and doing that, and then he went back to his account and it was gone.
What?
Because BetMGM said, well, the odds were wrong. We had the odds different than what they should have been. It was a huge favorite over Vietnam, and it was like the number of corners were like in all 3 of his parlays, and the number of corners should not have been that big of odds, so it shouldn't have come to like plus 6,600.
Yeah, I guess it shouldn't have been tough.
Right. But here's the thing. Instead of just adjusting those odds as well and see what the payout would have been, they just gave him his original money back.
Oh, I would be finding myself the best Vegas lawyer there is.
Here's your $3,200 investment back. No, I won all of those.
The parlay.
Yeah, but the odds were different. They were wrong, and it's our fault, blah, blah, blah. But there's also sort of you can read the fine print that when the odds are not offered of what would be, there's something
they
about
made it a no bet. They just made it,
they just made it a no bet.
I would be finding the very best lawyer in Vegas.
$250,000. DraftKings actually ended up paying out something like that. It was Draymond Green was not expected to play, and then news came out that afternoon that Draymond Green was going to start and then immediately be taken out of the game after the first time out because Klay Thompson was returning from ACL, so they wanted all of them on the court at the same time. But Draymond was injured. He started. So there was about 20 minutes when the news came out that people were going to DraftKings and pounding the Draymond Green under. Hit all of the unders for Draymond Green, and then DraftKings took it down. They paid it out.
It was there.
They paid it out. They paid it out. They're like, yeah, well, it sucks, but we're paying the money out, because it was a technicality.
I don't even get adjusting later what the odds would have been, but that would have been closer to fair than ripping it all away.
Yes. There was another one where
you messed up. I'm sorry. That's your deal.
There was another one to where it was a football game where a team was down by 2 with 30 seconds left, and they were in field goal range. And a live odds of a money line win for the team down by 2 for 18 seconds jumped to plus 75,000. And in 18 seconds, there were like 10 people that clicked.
Oh, wow.
And got that.
Wow.
And paid out.
Yeah.
Paid out like, well, it sucks. I don't remember what company that was, but they fought it for a while. And they eventually paid it out. But for 18 seconds, the team that was down by 2 in field goal range already.
What is $260,000 to these books?
And that's the thing. It's like,
You want good publicity?
Exactly.
Pay it out. You want bad publicity? Say we're taking your money back after you won a huge parlay.
And we're not even going to adjust the parlay. No. Even if we say the odds were wrong, we're not going to adjust them to what the odds should have been and then give you the winnings. Like at least, you won all 3 of those parlays. So even if it's doubling the money, hey, we're going to give you 3,000 more. You got 6,000 back. You bet 3,000, you got 6,000 back. Also, the guy's a school teacher and bet $3,000 on a World Cup game. You got a little Phil Mickelson going there.
Yeah, there's that's a good point.
It's a little Phil Mickelson to his game.
He's probably he needed that $260,000 to pay him back for all the money he's lost.
That's probably right. We'll take a timeout. And we'll do cuts after we find out who's going to be raising a roof.
Oh, yeah, man. I'd love to get that roof up over our head. That's a great point. I'd love to do that.
Can we raise a roof up in here?
Yeah, I'd love to raise a roof. I don't know. What do you guys like this week? I'll tell you what I like. I love Shamrock Roofing and Construction because I know one call does it all.
Okay.
They're going to put a roof right over your head. They've been on my roof and made sure everything was sweet up there.
That's good.
But I don't know. Now I'm trying to decide. I didn't have a sporting event this weekend that had caught my eye yet.
Well, the Chiefs do play football this weekend.
Yeah, that one doesn't seem that important to me.
Raise the roofs for Justin Ross and his 2 touchdown catches.
Okay.
I'll raise the roof for Mick Schaefer, too, while we're at it then. Brought to you by Shamrock Roofing Construction, Kansas City's local, residential, and commercial roofing contractors. One call does it all.
Let's raise the roof for school starting on August 11th. Let's do that. Let's raise the roof for half days, 2.5 hours of half day on August 11th for no reason. We're all raising the roof for that. We'll do the cuts next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter,
All right, wrapping up a Friday edition, this week's edition of shows. Chiefs in action on Sunday at noon.
On what station?
NFL Network. And KSHB 41.
You know where you get the best post-game coverage in the city?
NFL Network.
Right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
KSHB 41.
Pre-game starts at 11 on KSHB 41.
On NFL Network.
Post-game for an hour after on KSHB 41, your home of the Chiefs.
And NFL Network. What about halftime shows? Anybody got a good halftime show? NFL Network.
I'll do a little dance in here.
All right, let's get some cuts before we're done here.
Don't forget Jags and Cowboys on WHB tomorrow afternoon.
And NFL.
That cut wasn't very funny. Informative, but not very funny.
Weird. That was from 2 weeks ago.
How did I cut that?
You know, honestly, like, so you don't have kids.
Right.
So you don't have to, like, I'm just so happy to have silence. I am more than okay with just driving in complete silence for multiple hours of the shot.
That's so true.
Well, if you were a 5-year-old, I wouldn't talk to you about Jim Irsay. Well, if we died tomorrow, nobody would miss us.
Good showing from Verderam yesterday.
Thanks,
his father was killed when a vengeful urchin threw a coconut at his head.
And then you find out that his father was killed when that vengeful urchin threw that coconut at his head. You think about the time lost. You think about the times that you could have gone back there. You could have reconciled with your. It's a great lesson to learn from Tungsten Arm O'Doyle.
That's my new rock band, by the way. I'm going to learn an instrument, and I'm starting Vengeful Urchin right now.
Vengeful Urchin.
And we're going to go on tour, and that's my favorite phrase I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, and then, his mother went missing 1 year later and was never found. So that's also
extremely funny, Wikipedia! The personal life section for this fake Tungsten Arm O'Doyle page ends with a section titled Depression and Suicide. Hey, Wikipedia, sorry I didn't think that was going to be a laugher. Sorry I thought that was just sort of sad and not necessarily April Fool's material.
What a knee slapper.
Hilarious.
Got you good.
Got me good.
And there's just like ever so slight, changes to how each Costco does regionally. I was in a Tulsa Costco.
Oh, tell me more.
Oh, it was the biggest Costco I've ever seen.
Really?
It was
Tulsa
like
King.
a giant, it's double in size.
Nike school, I think.
They had a golf simulator just hanging out there.
Costco?
News to me.
Golf simulator in Costco. Apparently Tulsa's got it going on, man.
Our routine was, hey, church on Sunday, family trip to Costco right after.
Love that.
And, I mean, so I think I had, this is my teen years. You're right. Like,
yeah.
I started when I was a teen, but I think I was a full-fledged Costco king by 26. Like, right before we started having kids, I'm excited to go to Costco. I can't wait.
Wait till you have kids, Josh.
It's all very genuine. He just really loves
What I
Costco.
really hate. Here's what I hate.
Let's do it, Andy Rooney.
Okay, here. You know what really gets me mad?
You know what? Nobody has ice cream anymore.
That was 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago? Hey, time is flying.
Yeah.
Man. But it was cool.
Wanya Morris talking about Johnny Manziel. He's like, a few years ago when Johnny Manziel won the Heisman, he's like, that was 10 years ago. Really? Yeah, dude, you're like 22. How do you not know that you were like 12? You were in high school when that happened.
The headshot that is used for the fake Tungsten Arm O'Doyle page is apparently the real headshot for Baseball Hall of Famer Candy Cummings.
Who invented the curveball.
Yes. He invented the curveball?
He invented the curveball. Have you guys not watched Ken Burns baseball?
No.
Do you not watch it every
It's been a
year
while.
before spring break?
Hell no.
Before spring training?
No.
What's wrong with you? He invented the curveball.
I thought he was one of the characters in Boogie Nights.
No, he was throwing seashells on the beach and noticed that they would curve, and he thought, well, what if I did that with a baseball? And he invented the curveball.
Candy Cummings.
Who invented the curveball?
Yes. He invented the curveball?
He invented the curveball.
Yes, and then Patrick's like, oh.
Bump, bump, bump.
Oh,
Felix, he's going to probably get to work in here. Coach talked about him yesterday. He's getting a little bit more comfortable. Looks like he's letting it loose a little bit. Just what are your thoughts about what he's done for you out here and also in the media?
Yeah, you hit you hit it right on the nose.
I just wanted Spags telling Lebo he did a good job.
Boy, it was a surprise for everybody out on the field in the stands that it was called a ball and a check swing. We'll talk about some of those things.
I'm getting out of here.
Coming up, more so next.
Okay, let's go.
Les Norman. You heard it here first. Scherzer is Reagan's.
That's not what I said. What you said.
That was a text. That was a
You
text.
could knock me over with a feather, but I am thrilled.
There he goes. He's down. Down goes Briscoe.
I'm thrilled with the results, Jason.
Down goes Briscoe.
Somebody should vacuum down here. I mean, Creed did a show with us, I guess, at the MVS charity softball game for a while, but I podcasted it, but we were live at the time.
We could call it Oh Snap.
Good one.
Oh.
Try and work on a bunch of different kicks and, try and be a wizard with the football, just, Harry Potter with the football, so.
All brakes, no gas.
I think he meant
The
I'll see it when I believe
the
it.
smell of the state flower of Missouri, all 7 hours, infiltrating your nose is great.
I actually don't know what that is. What is it?
It's a joke.
Marijuana.
Yeah, it's flour.
You
Yeah,
really
it's
mark
flour.
that for
Sure.
Reefa.
I'd like to microdose Malik Herring.
No, I mean, I was just excited to celebrate with my teammates, and I just wanted to just get in there and be with the guys, and that was kind of my main focus. But it was a lot of fun, the Clark family, the Chiefs organization put on a wonderful event, and I'm just, honored to be part of it, and it was a great celebration. But we're 0-0 this year, and so everyone's starting at the same spot. So just trying to take it a day at a time, and yeah.
How's Joe Tooney?
Joe Tooney
finally
we lost Joe
malfunctioned.
Tooney. We lost Joe
Joe
Tooney.
Bot Tooney needs a software upgrade. Clark family.
The Clarks. Did we ever say IOLOS? That's tough. The operating system thing. Interior offensive line operating system.
Yeah, it was something like that.
It's not great. Tooney-nator.
Yep. Joe Bot. I will block you. The Clark's error.
How many other things do you think Dwayne Bowe and Joe Tooney have in common? I've got like 3. That, played for the Chiefs. I can't think of a third one.
C, A, and B.
They're like Sonic.
They wear their own jerseys.
That's right. Yep. They've met Andy Reid. So there you go. They both think they're the Clark family.
Clarks.
Celebrate the beauty of the past and the richness of the future.